Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Storm Competitive Series. My name is Sticula, and we're headed into Playday number 6, the very final matchup, Phantom Legion taking on Hostile Actions. This is a big debut game. Phantom Legion have yet to play. They will be coming in and replacing Renaissance, who unfortunately were disqualified from the league. Hostile Actions, a bit of news on their front. They've made a roster move recently after their captain, Axon, decided to depart the team. He's going LFT, but in the meantime, Hostile Actions are facing a very tough opponent. Phantom Legion don't have many VODs on them, so it's very hard to do your homework, to get your film, and run really any large amount of counter-stratting, and that could play a very large part, especially when you've got so much from the last few playdays on Hostile Actions. I think you can play a really smart game. You play into these map bans and you might just end up getting lucky. Unfortunately though, Jenna, we had a bit of a misstep from Phantom Legion. I think Trist, his little brother, he banned the wrong map.
He did. I'm not quite sure. I think it was... What was it? I think it was did they say Consulate or something like that? Yeah. He accidentally banned Consulate. So, if we look at the map bans right now, I think they have been fixed. As of, or have they? So they wanted to ban out, okay, so they wanted to ban out Consulate, but they did not end up doing that. So Consulate consequently was chosen by Hostile Actions, and instead, I believe it was Oregon that was eliminated.
Yeah, and that is probably the worst map I think you could have removed here for Phantom Legion, because it is one of their best. It's no secret that they played PogChamp. They took Oregon 5-7, which is very impressive. And so to remove that map, to have it fall away, is a bit of a struggle. And even more so, to allow for Hostile Actions to play Consulate, statistically, their very best map. And who knows the effect that'll have on the momentum of this series. If Hostile Actions can get a few rounds in here just because it was their pick and they're more prepared to play a Consulate, maybe this series will go the other way.
You're definitely right. I mean, Hostile Actions does have a huge hill to climb, being that they are pretty far down on the bracket as is, and I mean, PL technically does not have any, you're right, PL doesn't have any experience in this league, and really an unknown team to the league. You don't have much of odds on them, you don't have much experience playing them, so what do you have? I mean, there's not really a lot to get them started, but going along with the narrative, this is PL's big debut, this is their big game, this is what's going to get them started on the climb for maybe being able to hit, top 6.
There's a very long and arduous playoff race ahead of them if Phantom Legion want to reach that top 6 and get back into the contention. We talked about this before the match. Winning today is the big trendsetter. You've got to get this win in order to get the ball rolling. And if you fail here and now, that just makes the effort you have to put in for the latter half of this season that much more difficult, because Hostile Actions is probably the team that you're going to have the most luck against. They haven't had the best run so far through Season 4, and if you can't beat Hostile Actions, I don't know if you can beat a whole lot of the other teams. We haven't seen a lot from Phantom Legion, but one thing that we did talk about is the fact that sometimes they can play kind of the role of the reactionary. They kind of rely on their opponents in order to decide what the flow of the game, what the sort of tempo will be. And, if you can't get that under wraps versus Hostile Actions, I just feel like it's probably an issue that'll roll forward to a lot of the other games.
Right, you're definitely right, and going along with Hostile Actions, this could play into their hand technically, because we know them as a team that they can tend to have an inconsistent structure, and it could cause issues in PL trying to adapt to them and trying to, we lost this round, what are they going to do the next round, but the next round they end up being inconsistent with the same exact thing, so you never know. It's definitely going to be something that's going to test the patience of PL, to say the least, and it's mostly going to test their skill level in the league.
Hostile Actions, I believe the new player they've picked up is Exune, which is interesting. I haven't actually had the pleasure of casting him just yet. but that does introduce kind of a factor of uncertainty that you mentioned, because of, very simply, how do you kind of define yourselves by your opponents when you have, when they don't know what they're doing themselves? And we have confirmation it's actually Peeps Yoda that will be playing as the sub for this match. And so there's a lot of uncertainty on the front of the roster. You've got Just Dom. He's been pretty much the most consistent player so far. He's had a lot of good impact. I talked to their opponent, I believe it was back during one of the earlier weeks. I talked to 303 Esports about what they thought of Hostile Actions in their previous roster, and he definitely pointed out that losing Axon is a huge blow, and without him to do it with Just Dom, you might have lost too much of your fragging power to contest with. As far as Limbo, he's going barely just positive on the entries, but aside from Just Dom, the rest of the team has had a lot of struggle picking up the slack. And so Peeps Yoda on the flex role has got a big job to do today if he wants to set his team's record straight, get their reputation under wraps, and start their comeback.
Right, that's a narrative of it all, you know? And because these two teams have such either little experience or bad experience in the league, it's really hard to determine how this is going to play out. I mean, you know that we do have our predictions, and a lot of us actually did say PL because they have historically been good competition, but you can't really base that off of something previous. I mean, this is a whole new league, this is a whole new level of competition that they've never even experienced. They've never had the pleasure of playing in. So definitely gonna be some interesting play tonight. But as you see, Hostile Actions is 11th and Phantom Legion is respectively 12th on the leaderboard. We know that they took up Renaissance, I believe, is that how you call it?
Yes.
Renaissance, yeah. So they took up their position, and unfortunately they also took their record with them, which is 3-6. And that basically tells us that, you know, they're not responsible for their record, but they're going to try to do their best to hit that top 6. And they're going to try to do their best to eliminate, you know, the bad name that they have unfortunately taken up.
Yeah. I actually have a bit of experience casting PL way back in the day, and you can see across the board it is very favorable towards Phantom Legion, and I think that's partly to do with everyone here at SCS has seen Hostile Actions. We know what to expect from them, and so PLG already have the heads-up advantage in terms of our confidence in them, just because they can bring something new, a style of siege that we haven't seen before. In Hostile Actions, just they have had so many very basic ground level issues with their foundation as a team that has prevented them from securing really any confidence among the fans of SCS as well as the staff here. But to return to my earlier point, I have experience casting Phantom Legion in their past. It was with the old core that included JB. He has been switched out now. They've got instead in his place, I think, Dan coming in. So that does kind of introduce another element of uncertainty, but their old core, the core of Giorno, Trist, as well as Buzz, was just really solid. They can play a strong kind of fragging game. They can sort of pick up the slack and go aggressive, change the tempo when they need to, but you kind of need to be in your element. And another issue that Phantom Legion has had when they lose their star fragger, if Trist has a bad day, that tends to drag the rest of the team down, and it's just a very large risk. But yeah, overall, across the entire board, all 12 predictions go to Phantom Legion, and if that doesn't say something about Hostile Actions performance, I don't know what does.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. I mean, what is the better determination of this matchup than 12 people, 12 experienced casters telling the audience that, yeah, this team is probably going to win. I mean, there really isn't any better prediction on that. But, I think Hostile Actions could prove to be a really good competition still. I mean, they have a really volatile team roster, I'll say that. They've had a lot of changes in the past, and they're still trying to find their way. They're still trying to find their identity in this league. But regardless, they're going to be looking to compete for 10th place and solidify the 12th place stature for PL. And that's kind of what the narrative looks like. And I think that, going with the underdog decision, I think they, if they play together, if they can take down an aggressive team like PL, if they don't rush, if they don't do those stupid strategies, they might be able to capture a few rounds and make it even a tie.
Right, and I think that is the main contributor to what weakens my confidence in Phantom Legion, and to say that there is, I don't think really a guarantee that this will be a flat-out victory for them. Hostile Actions have got a new player. You never know what element that can introduce to the team, and say, maybe coming into this, Peeps Yoda just kind of gives everyone all across the board a boost to the team, and if that happens, maybe Phantom Legion weren't prepared for it, and they maybe will get a little bit cocky, saying, this is our first match for Playday number 6, we've got it in the bag, don't worry about it. But when you show up on game day, if Hostile Actions are prepared to duke it out and fight for the full length, they may very well pull an upset here today, and I never want to eliminate that before we get a chance to see how both teams perform. The fragging game will be huge tonight. If Hostile Actions struggle to play their very slow, kind of methodical style of Siege and they get caught up in the aggressiveness of Phantom Legion, that might be an issue that just completely demotivates and destroys the morale for HA, and it's just one of those issues that is so hard to get back on track if you're a team that doesn't have the most amount of experience or a competent leader to stand behind the team, such as Hostile Actions losing Axon. Now you don't have that leadership role, that figure to stand behind the team and say, it's time to rally up, to play our best, and to get back into fighting this game.
Right, and I don't necessarily think this is a question of will they win. I think this is a question of how well will they bounce back once they lose rounds. Because I think, looking at this matchup, statistically, even, theory and practice, I really think that Hostile Actions, they do have a really steep hill to climb. And with that being said, it just comes down to, kind of like how you were hitting the point of, it comes down to their confidence level. It comes down to how well they can get up and how well they can keep a calm head on their shoulders. That really, a lot of times, makes a difference, because you can't get heated over these rounds that you lose. You can't get worked up over the tiny things. Otherwise, it's just going to drag your team down as a whole.
And I think that is also hitting on something to talk about as far as the maps, right? So you've got Hostile Actions pick of Consulate first. We already mentioned how it was Phantom Legion's mistake that unfortunately led to this map coming out. And from the statistics point of view, it's like a 43% win rate, which you might, see and say, what? 43%? That is Hostile Actions' highest win percentage on every map in the pool. And it just is... It's their only saving grace here in this match, I think, to have this map to have come through. Maybe winning this here, taking it, even if it might be a close game, could give you that boost in order to play a competitive match on Villa, at least get to overtime so you get a consolation point for the win. Phantom Legion notoriously have been pretty decent on Villa in the past. I haven't seen them play on the map recently, though. In their old core, it tended to lean more towards kind of like a cafe, theme park, clubhouse style rotation. So maybe Villa is the newest map. It's got the newest elements as far as the series. But if you look at Hostile Actions, they've actually been kind of the team with the most variety in their picks so far this season, which is fun. One of the only theme parks I think we've seen, and theme park is actually a map that's very near and dear to my heart. They've had a few of those overtime games we saw back in week number 4, 7-9, 7-9 on both of them, so big majority of their points as far as over the season have come from there, as well as that 7-5 win we saw them take on Clubhouse. And eliminating Clubhouse, you kind of described it as removing the crutch for Hostile Actions, and I think that's definitely pretty apt. When you don't have that map you feel comfortable on to fall back on for your pick, especially in the SCS format for a best of 2, that can create a bit of inconfidence.
No, you're totally right on that. I mean, taking out the big map, the big defender-sided map specifically being Clubhouse, and the only map that they technically won on in the series is absolutely, it can destroy your chances of winning, especially because Hostile Actions is already at a little bit of a deficit going into this match, because we know statistically that PL is good competition. We know statistically that Hostile Actions isn't necessarily good competition in this league. I mean, looking at their score line, that's just the objective facts, but I mean, you also look at Consulate, right? And they have not played Consulate. I mean, looking at the seasonal history, they've not played Consulate, not once. So this is new territory that they're walking into. On top of that, it's also new territory for PL to be playing in general. So there's a lot of unknowns with that map. I think a lot of it will come down to, you know, player bans, and I think it'll also come down to, you know, who might get the specific side wins, the morale of the team, just those outside factors that really contribute dearly to a team's win.
You can take a look at the stats here. Goria is still maintaining his incredibly high, really outstanding rating. He just has not been shaken. And I think every single game we're seeing his kill delta go up and up and up, just snowballing and completely overshadowing the rest of his team. I think he's probably got a higher kill delta than all of those bottom four numbers combined, which is just extraordinary. And Emergence have faced a lot of issues recently, and they've not had the best kind of, if you just subtract Goria, their performance has been very questionable, and I honestly think I might see a roster move in their future. It just sort of depends on where they want to take the team as far as the direction. Wichita Wolves have also made some recent change, but we can take a deeper look inside of the statistics for Hostile Actions. I already mentioned the entry differential question. You've got Zag and Devils who kind of play more of a reserved role, but I feel like you kind of want to have the rest of your team at least be, you know, approaching going positive on the entries. It seems like a lot of times Zag and Devils get cut out early, and that leads to a position where Hostile Actions are so weak on the objective. And we've seen also, I've heard historically in the past, if Hostile Actions find themselves in that deficit, if they're not, you know, getting closer to winning a game, sometimes they kind of fall back into some monkey plays and try to go for rushes.
Right. It's kind of like that, you know, that last-ditch effort in an attempt to win a round, but it's so horribly malfunctioning that it just puts you back even further. But yeah, I guess we'll take a look into our first map, Consulate. Looking into the map, or the player bans. Now, Thatcher, we know. Thatcher is generally a universal ban. He's a pretty big crutch ban between most teams of higher play. He's kind of that encompassing operator that does you everything. I mean, it's a no-brainer to take him out, right? And then we're gonna have to see our next ban in a few seconds here, and it is going to be Nomad. I think Nomad is a really strategic ban, especially on Consulate, a map where you kind of need that flank watch, that flank denial, because Nomad is the type of operator that prevents you from having to do any of your, you know, your face checking, having to actually put down drones, you know, God forbid, and basically having to watch your back. It's just you put up her little, you know, utility bit, and then you don't have to watch that angle. Now, Mira, I mean, she's got a lot of uses on, especially on Consulate, being, you know, the bottom floor. She's definitely one of the, you know, higher pick rate operators that you want to see taken out, and same thing goes for Valkyrie.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most standard selection of operator bans you could have asked for as far as a Consulate. Sometimes we'll see the Thatcher or the Nomad switched out for a Capital, but it's pretty consistent to see the Valkyrie and the Nomad removed. Curious that we'll have the Maestro left up on the board here. Maestro is very powerful, especially down on the garage site. The Phantom Legion in their very first round for the league will not opt to bring the Alda or his Equalize. Instead, you've got the Castle, which may be indicative of Phantom Legion attempting to go for somewhat of a vertical roam. Maybe they're going to try to hold off Hostile Actions, force them to commit more to taking the map control. With the Nomad ban, Hostile Actions are very swift to react in bringing the gridlock.
Most definitely, and I think Smoke being a pick up on the board too. I mean, he's normally a usual pick, but we could definitely be seeing either Smoke or Mute playing up in that bathroom, like you said, with that extended vertical hold with Castle aiding that one. But interestingly enough, he's going to go on top floor instead. So he's not even, he's going to take away the possibility of, going bathroom either way. I mean, not necessarily, but at least placing those castles up on the bathroom and go all the way top floor, which, I mean, proxy defense. I think that's honestly smart of them to do, being that it gives you a direct line of sight into the main lobby, which is definitely going to be a huge part of the attacker's strategy in any case. So, I mean, we'll have to see how this plays out either way.
I think the Phantom Legion top floor roam will have to wait, though, because we've got the rehost on the way. So stick with us here while this is ongoing. But yeah, I guess we can talk more about what Phantom Legion maybe they've got planned for this first round. They're going to try to burn the clock off and force hostile actions to try to dedicate a lot of their utility to going for this full clear. I think it's a smart defense to pick up first for Phantom Legion. It tests the waters, whether hostile actions are going to invest in clearing that roam or if they're going to try to force onto the objective. Maybe that will be the larger indicator of their play style as a whole. If hostile actions are a team that tends to ignore roams, ignore extensions, and they try to go for rushes onto the site, try to just bypass all of that defender kind of swamp utility that we see set up outside of the bomb site itself. I don't really know what I would recommend as far as the strategy, because in clearing Consulate, you can waste a lot of time. If you go for a full vertical clear, you're wasting getting rid of all the utility. You don't want to be, getting down to the bomb site with only 45 seconds to go. For hostile actions as a team that have had historically a lot of struggles when they run out of time, that is not where you want to start here for Consulate.
Right, I can tell you the recommended strategy, or I can tell you the honest strategy that hostile actions is most likely to take, and those two are kind of different strategies, I'm not gonna lie, because I'm gonna assume that hostile actions is gonna try for something like top floor, knowing that Phantom Legion is going for that top floor hold. I'm gonna assume that hostile actions is going to attempt a admin take, or they're even gonna go straight for we could see tellers, we could see even the main lobby trying to be taken, but I don't necessarily see them, going straight for the rush, which would technically kind of be the recommended strategy, being that there's going to be a huge opening from PL, being that they're not going to have so much utility, or not going to have so many bodies on the bottom floor. But I also think that they're, we haven't seen their bottom floor strategy yet specifically. We've only seen what they've given us on top floor. So we could be seeing something completely different throughout the round. We could be seeing them, backing up, playing a little bit more passive, trying to waste that time, which would be definitely what we expect out of them. But again, yeah, it's going to be how hostile actions deals with it. And we know them to be a relatively fundamental team. They really only practice the, easy parts of how to play a map, and that would be, walking straight into main lobby and getting absolutely decimated. I think that they're gonna have to play very creatively if they honestly want to win this round out.
I definitely see that. I think what I would suggest as far as developing this first round is to assign maybe, let's say, 3 people to try to force in from the garage door. So immediately what you do is you try to cause a ton of confusion. You force Phantom Legion to immediately rotate down, retreat from the top floor, and try to return to the objective, because Phantom Legion, they're gonna give that call that there's a lot of pressure horizontally being applied to the site, and you can't really in that scenario afford to stay upstairs on the roam the whole time. You've got to get back down to your site, and in the midst of that, in conjunction with their horizontal pressure, also set up 2 players to try to lurk in the mid-floor of the map and cut off those rotations. So what that looks like is maybe someone that sits on the piano rappel and tries to watch the CEO drop, and then as well somebody inside of the main lobby. We've already seen Phantom Legion. They're gonna play with hatches open for their rotate. They could drop down admin into Visa, which sort of leaves an area that is unwatched. But for Phantom Legion, or rather for hostile actions, you kind of need to figure out which areas you're going to apply pressure to. I think if they try to implement that strategy, if they get a few opening picks off of it, that might leave Phantom Legion in a weakened enough state in order to find success on this first garage defense.
honestly nothing to contest there with your point. I really can't see anything going out of place for Phantom Legion this round. It's just whether they have the game sense to be able to make the rotates at the right time without getting cut off. Because you're completely right. You know, if you cut off the rotations from top floor, what are they going to do then? They're going to be absolutely screwed. You're going to catch them with their pants down when they're trying to rotate, get a few picks off, and then it's basically you have the whole bottom floor surrounded and you've honestly won the round. So I think, yeah, you're right, that should be the strategy to take, you know, cutting off the rotations and putting a lot of pressure down on bottom floor. But the main question still stands, is it going to be the strategy that Hostile Actions takes? They know what they're going up against in terms of general operator picks. We don't know if they necessarily know the actual strategy at hand, but they know they have some type of information, so they can work with that, you know? And with this kind of tactical timeout like rehost, they could use that to their advantage, truly.
Nothing better than a timeout on the first round in order to figure out how you're going to play against your opponent, and Hostile Actions could use that to find some early intel here. From their composition, though, I honestly think they're probably going to try to invest in clearing the full roam. You've got plenty of soft breach. We saw, I think it was a Sophia, Ash, and a Sledge, so you have plenty of utility as far to clear out whatever it may be on the top floor. I think they saw, you've got castle barricades set up. I'm just quickly looking back. I think you've got one on the double door at Island or Baguette. There's kind of a subject of disagreement there as far as the call out. We didn't totally get to see, I think, the rest of what they were trying to set up for their barricades, but I would imagine probably one on the double door that goes into CEO, so you can't watch that from the bathroom rappel. And then maybe have the other one on the top spiral door, or even on inside a projector on the Visa stairs door over by Bosco's spot. You put one there, you can lock off the rotate, and Hostile Actions have to develop a lot of utility in clearing this. They'll have to use pretty much all of their soft breaching tools before they actually reach the site themselves. One thing to look at here as far as this very first attack round is what happens to the Sledge. If the Sledge dies early, I think the attack dies early. I don't think they have enough vertical pressure to apply to the objective in order to clear out some of those very strong positions inside the garage itself. Another issue that you could see here is if Zag on the Ace dies early. If you lose your hard breach, you can't get the garage panel open now, and you also can't really get the hatches open if we are to see Phantom Legion reinforce the hatch inside of the bathroom or circle desk.
And, you know, the same thing goes with the defense. Like you were saying, if you lose those key players at the beginning of the round, the defense will have a lot less utility to work with in bottlenecking Hostile Actions. If you lose, you know, the smoke, for example, that's 3 canisters down. That's, you know, a good around half a minute of time that could be wasted, and wasted time is always key, especially on Consulate, for a defense. With those open objectives, you know, you want to try to keep away the attackers as much as possible in those really high utility defenses, and especially like we're going to be seeing right here with the castle, with the mute, with the smoke, you know, everything to shut down intel, everything to shut down attacker utility is going to be key. And losing that, I mean, yeah, it could definitely slash your chances of winning.
I think we're only just a few moments away, any closing thoughts on this defense. As far as my expectations for the opening pick, I think what we're going to see is probably Buzz gun down Ash or Zofia. One of those two players is going to get aggressive in their clear. Any slight mistake in the mispositioning could very well mean this goes immediately to a 5v4 in the favor of Phantom Legion, and that's exactly what you want. You want Hostile Actions to be scared to peek you. You want them to be hesitant, because we have so much evidence to show from the past when Hostile Actions aren't confident when they're slow and they're hesitant to go for a push, that's when they're at their most vulnerable. And I think that applies to a lot of teams. Confidence is a big mental game inside of T3, and winning that can give you so many benefits as far as control of the map. I mean, when you're in confident attack, you're not going to be so dedicated to going for a full clear. You'll make mistakes like you fail to clear corners, and maybe Phantom Legion, they've got Dan on the roster. Maybe Dan sits in a corner somewhere and, you know, you clear him out, and then all of a sudden you're ready to attack the objective. It's go time. And then Dan appears at the back and he just guns you all down. Like, what do you do in that scenario? You need to be on top of the mental game, and frankly, I don't know if Hostile Actions are prepared to get that done.
Well, the only way that we're going to be able to see that in play is if we actually get into the game. You know, we've been waiting here, we've been sitting here talking for the past around, what, I think like 5 minutes, 5-6 minutes. So, I think going into predictions, I think Peeps, he is our new player here. He's the new move for Hostile Actions, and I think I want to see him perform. I think, you know, Axon, what better sub for him, or what, you know, what better substitute for him than somebody who knows how to perform well and somebody who has the game sense that he did. You know, losing somebody that is so huge for your team is a big detriment, and you know, you need somebody on that same level to be able to replace him, really. And I think let's hope that Peeps can have a similar performance.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to replace a player like Axon, who has been very responsible in his leadership role, and I think he's been kind of, I'm hesitant to say this, but I think he's been one of the threads that's keeping Hostile Actions hanging on as far as their team, and willing to show up on every game day, continuing to at least make games close. We haven't seen a lot of matches through the season for Hostile Actions that have just been complete shutouts. They made a lot of very close attempts, and that's a credit to them, and it shows that their team is in a state of constant improvement, right? They're not just giving up after every game day, going home and getting off the game and saying, you know, we're done, we took a loss, we'll come back and pick it up another day. No, we're saying that we're going to put in the hours, we're going to talk as a team, we're going to solve these issues, and we're going to try to work past what has served us so many defeats through the regular season. And if they can get that under control now that they've got new players on the roster and Axon is gone, I think that'll be maybe the turning point. But at some point, you've got to say, you know, what is the issue? If we can't, you know, change the performance of the team, get it back on track, and be a strong contender for the rest of the season.
Right, and, you know, going by the bracket, I think that there has to be those teams that stay on the bottom of the bracket. I mean, there has to be those teams that take one for the league and just kind of, you know, they're losing their matches and they're trying to get better and they're trying to improve it, but they're not necessarily on the biggest level of competition alongside the other teams. And I think that's the case for Hostile Actions. I think that, you know, they've tried really hard during this, and you're right, they have made a lot of improvements, and they've tried really hard during these play days, and they're just slightly missing the mark. There's something that hasn't been on with them, and who knows, maybe, yeah, trading out Axon for Peeps could be a big move for them. Maybe the new leadership is what they need.
It's really hard to say, because when you pick up a new player just the same as Phantom Legion being new to the league, there's a large element of uncertainty. And I think even more in terms of the value that it applies to Phantom Legion, it applies to Hostile Actions, because not only have they got a new player who's new to the league, they've got a new player who's new to the team, and he hasn't, you know, had the most experience like their old 5-strong core had in knowing how they play. You don't have that same amount of time to develop the chemistry and the coordination that you would have had with the old roster, and so that's something that you kind of need to start off from square one. Teach this new player, whether it be Peeps, Yoda, or Exum, teach him the style of Siege that you play, the system that you want to implement as far as your strategy. So far through the weeks of playdays that we've seen, Hostile Actions, honestly, they've played kind of both sides of the coin. They've played very structured offenses that move slowly and clear throughout the map. They've also played some such as those rushes that we talked about where they throw caution to the wind and they just go full out into the map and they gun you down and they make you hurt. But it is a lot of work to get done here, and that's what I think makes this probably one of my favorite matches to have gotten, because it's such a learning experience. It's time to explore, to figure out how these teams will play and what makes them tick.
Right, and it's also time to explore their limits. Time to explore, how much they can go through and try to make it back, and what's going to be, yeah, you're right, what can make them tick, what is going to be their downfall. But I think that we still do have a few minutes left trying to do this rehost. I'm not quite sure when the cutoff period is going to be, but we have been talking for a while. We've been stalling. We've been talking out of our butts for a little bit here. So I'm trying to. Do we have a connection to confirm if we're going to start or not? Do you know?
I think we'll hear about that soon. Okay, so we just got word from production. We'll be heading to a short intermission while we try and figure everything out. The match will be back on, so just give us a little bit of time. Hopefully we'll sort everything out and we'll be back. Short break. So, happy days for us. Just wanted to deliver a quick reminder. The second game of the evening was actually rescheduled. I think that was 303 versus Wichita Wolves, so that'll be played at a different date. So, hopefully we'll have more news on that soon as far as where the series will be taking place. And that was actually kind of a game that I was looking forward to, but we've got Consulate to get back into. Luckily, everybody is here. We've actually had a sub come in favor of Dan, the coach. Challenger, the GOAT staff for this roster will be in and playing for map number 1. So get ready, I guess, to see how this will play out. You've got subs across the board on both teams and a curious 6-pick from the Blitz onto the Ash.
Right, you are. So looking at the PLG player index, we see that Dan actually played hard support. He played Thermite and Maestro, so technically it really shouldn't be too hard to replicate in Challenger's position, especially to replicate his, technical position in the game. And so I think, I think definitely Challenger swapping might actually end up being a plus for Phantom Legion going into the rest of this match, being that Dan could not reconnect. But yeah, let's get into it. So we obviously see the top floor hold happening once again, and you see a lot of players on top floor. So I guess that kind of confirms our suspicion that, there probably is not going to be a lot of players on bottom floor specifically. Maybe 2 or 3 at most. I'm guessing 2 is going to be our lucky number, but 2 players on bottom floor could mean that it's going to be, oh my lord, and it's going to be a rush from HA already into the site. Jorno's going to be taken down as well, a 3v5 and a rush plant that is. It's up to the defense of only Disturbs at this point to make the comeback. He's on first floor and the plant's already going down. Oh my lord, it is chaotic.
That is such a gigantic misplay, and hostile action stomp out Phantom Legion for the first round of play in Consulate. And man, you've got to put those reinforcements up. If you're going to play a vertical extension, you better have the site protected. Hostile actions read so well into that, blitzing directly down to the garage door, wasting no time cutting down Challenger as he attempted to reinforce that wall and taking a nice freebie onto the objective. That is just... that you couldn't have asked for a better round and a better way to kick this off. I guess just a little bit of miscommunication. Phantom Legion ill-prepared to issue a victory on this very first round, and now will sit at the deficit. It'll be a repeat of the site, but with a bit of a twist. We don't have that same vertical extension strategy as far as the operator composition. Instead, I think probably more of an anchored setup with the combo Jaeger and Wamai, and you've also got the smoke Malusi to hold back the attacker Tide.
Right, and I think this is the adaptability factor coming out for PLG, because they know that they did not do well the first round, and they're kind of saying, oh well, you know what, maybe we pull back a little bit, maybe we don't do as much with the vertical hold, we might do it, but we'll kind of switch it around. We'll put a twist on it, kind of like you said your own words here in yeah, it's going to be Wamai instead of Castle. And so since Castle's not being played on that top floor, it leaves the roamers who choose to play there a little bit more exposed, but in trade for the Wamai, which is going to actually be huge coming in at the bottom floor since it's such an open objective. It's going to prevent a lot of that utility play from the attackers.
Right, yeah, and there's actually just a lot of changes. The operator lineup almost entirely, I think, shifted. Previously, we saw the
Oh,
Castle,
yeah.
Jaeger, Smoke, Mute, and Mozzie. You still got the kind of core of the Jaeger, Smoke, and the Mozzie, but now you've got the Melusi with her Banshees, as well as Smoke with his ... smokes. So you've got a lot more utility to try and hold back the tide. Hostile Actions with another opening frag, and that is one big warning sign that we talked about identifying. Trist going down early and failing to get his frags. Disturbs attempts to soften the blow. He cuts down the Ashe in her attempted push. Exum already with 3 kills that he's found. And Hostile Actions looking to rocket off to a great start for this very first map.
And, you know, who knows? Triss going down might not be the big blow for PLG that we normally would see, being that they're on defense. You know, they have a lot of factors working in their favor because they're not on attack, so you don't have as much, you don't have as much, you know, defining action in what Triss does during the round because, you know, you're not trying to frag specifically with him as a player. But Disturbs going down from just Dom shooting outside with Sophia, and that's the second player down for PLG. Now Disturbs, who was attempting to rotate back down to the objective, he was cut off. So great cut of the play from Hostile Actions. Can they continue to do it in the round? That's going to be our question in the narrative that will have to be answered. Now about 1 minute left in the round, and you see a lot of pressure, and the attackers are beginning to surround the objective on all sides from vertical and horizontal features. So who knows, you might be able to see a frag or two cutting off those rotations. Like you just see Giorno taking a lot of damage and moving down yellow stairs right now. It's going to be the head of Devils being capped.
Well, a refrag is soon and in play. Zach gets Giorno. Now the smoke is gone. Hostile Actions fighting from a position of man advantage to approach the objective, breaking the barbed wire. The Jaeger goes aggressive, locking off the side white rotate. Still vertical angles in play. Buzz tries to fight that off. A shot towards the roof, but it doesn't connect for much. Zag now will begin to plant the rotate from security's hallway. It's a long angle outside the garage door to protect this. Jumping over the shield now at pipes. They'll have to protect this plant. The attempt to rotate. Zag does not forfeit control of the objective and falls for it, but still the vertical play gets the Jaeger, and now Challenger, the coach, forced to find 2. Limbo holding still steady on the vertical play, and just Dom hiding elsewhere. Gridlock track stingers will lock off this rotate. The shots come out, the sledge is ready for it, and Limbo lops off that head. Hostile Actions with 2.
Right, you are. And you know what's even harder than attacking that objective is trying to retake it, especially when you have a lot of vertical pressure from the attackers in Piano. And that's exactly what happened, you know? It's such an uphill battle when you have, you know, the track stingers, you've got the sledge working. I mean, it was absolute demolition city for Hostile Actions, and they played it out so beautifully, getting very passive and relying on their angles, relying on their vertical play in the end. You know, they did not play, they played very balanced. They didn't play too out of the ordinary. They didn't, you know, make those super aggressive peaks and get themselves killed like we've seen in the past from them. They really just kind of stuck back and played to what they knew best, and they won for it.
This is a big question of the consistency for Hostile Action. They've proved that that first gem attack wasn't a fluke and that they can get that bomb site under their grasp, but now we'll rotate and go to lobby. The rare rook play, usually we'll see this MP5 brought out simply for the fact that it tends to work out better in those longer vertical engagements. It's a very controllable firearm, and because it's got that 2x optic, a lot of people prefer to play it when you're running an anchor on site. You've also got Challenger on the Maestro, not having the most luck so far. Phantom Legion need to heat up on the fragging game if they want to find some success here, because so far dropping 2 rounds to Hostile Actions is not a good look, and going even at the half for Hostile Actions if they win this next round would be a solid confirmation of their prowess on Consulate. Exum wasting no time. The fragger looking to make his entry and presence known immediately as he applies some pressure over towards the gym window, but still setting up utility inside of console. tapping up those windows and opening them for some potential aggressive play if he looks down by the garage ramp, and Hostile Actions preparing with the rest of their intel.
Right, you are. So you're completely right on that. This is going to be a very big admin take, and if the attack is extremely successful in their ability to take admin, that gives them a great foothold moving towards long desk and getting into baguette is what I'm going to call it this time. But either way, Giorno is going to be our first line of defense against Hostile Actions, and he proved not to stand in their pressure. He was taken out from the window. That was a bad spot for him to be caught with his pants down in, but now it is all up to Buzz, who is sitting on the west side of the top floor, and Disturbs coming out with the frag already. He came up from yellow. He came up from that turnaround platform staircase, and he's helping out Buzz here, is what he's doing. He's trying to get him out of a rough situation from a lot of pressure on the side of Hostile Actions. No Hostile Actions is trying to cap this in order to get a lot of vertical play down and secure those hatches, secure those rotations, and hopefully make their plant and their execute successful.
Pressure pinches, crossfires, and chokeholds have been the big strength here for Hostile Actions so far through the first 2 rounds. They're looking to make it happen for a third. Disturbs fighting back to get the refrag, and now Trist gets one. Starting off, he finally finds the impact that he wants so dearly in gunning down Devils. And now Hostile Actions are countered and find themselves in a disadvantage significantly for the first time in this match. Limbo struggling to open some vertical play here. He needs any frag that he can get for his team to dislodge these players below, but Hostile Actions beginning to fall into that slow game mentality. Challenger, the coach, holding the angle, blocking off a potential for Hostile Actions to begin their assault from bottom yellow, and Exum looks ready to try and counter against this. The Maestro falls off of the angle, preferring to play safer back inside of the stalls, but Trist rotates to cover over by main lobby. So the vertical angles are all accounted for. 13 seconds to go. It'll be a file on into the objective. The angle is covered. Challenger gets the frag. Just Stomp swiftly in the refrag as Disturbs finds a double kill. Make that a third. Phantom Legion battle back with the win.
Okay, well, that was a really great round for Phantom Legion to bounce back on the defense, and an interesting one at that being that they were on the tertiary site for their defense. But nonetheless, I think that there was a lot of bottlenecking going on there. There was a lot of utility at play that Hostile Actions just couldn't find their way out of. They couldn't, stand to be the aggressive players in this, and it allowed Phantom Legion to become even more passive, make those angles, find their way through, and they mounted their defense so beautifully against them, and look what it gave them. It gave them a round win, their first round win, and finally on our third round, leaving them to have a 1-2 scoreline. And now they're going to be going back down to garage and cafeteria, using the Rook once again. That's really interesting to be seeing. So obviously they're not going to be doing that top floor hold that we normally would expect from them. They're playing definitely a lot slower, and kind of like how we had a more anchored, hunker down type of strategy that would normally be seen on bottom floor. And I think that, it worked a little bit better for them, but this round, hopefully they're going to be, making their way to perfect it. And finally, tweaking out those imperfections with it and finding another round win, leaving us to a 2-2 scoreline.
Hostile Actions have not looked hesitant to apply pressure on the second floor of Consulate. They've consistently shown that no matter where Phantom Legion decide to build their outpost, they are confident to try and go to attack it. We've got somebody on the roam here from PLG just inside of the Visa hallway, maybe looking to catch out Hostile Actions quite early. We've got 2 players outside the Visa double, so maybe it's actually kind of a few more than 2 now as I see that. And we do have a hatch drop rush. They're going to try to apply a lot of pressure moving closer towards cafeteria. Exum doesn't check the angle, leaving himself exposed, but nobody ready to try and capitalize on it. Now they've cleared the Banshee, moving further and closer over by lockers. A side is being held very loosely from outside. Zag guns down Giorno early, and Exu gets buzzed now at 3v5. Phantom Legion may be looking to fall for a third in unsuccessful garage defenses, but they get the frags necessary to make it equal. And now Hostile Actions have to try and make something work. They've got the rotations, all their flanks covered. The diffuser, though, will need to be recovered before they can move further, and in such a terrible position, deep inside the bomb site, Phantom Legion have all the necessary barricades and everything in place to protect and play this. They just need to make sure that the diffuser is not recovered and Hostile Actions can't play together as a team.
Right, you are, and now that their position is exposed, what do they do next? They fall back on intel. You see a lot of droning coming from Hostile Actions, which is definitely the right move to make. They're trying to get as much information as they can get, but it's not going to be enough as it turns to a 2v2 with Exo and Disturbs finding their way through frags, and the diffuser is down, so that obviously falls back on the attack to grab it, but it won't be possible from Exo. He gets fragged down, and it leaves us with Devils, the main gridlock on the team to find the frags. And he's going to be funneling in once again to that predictable doorway, and he gets refragged out. Amazing team play on the part of Phantom Legion. They made it so it wasn't that individual gunfight that won, but instead they were able to find their way back and win the round.
From a 2-2 scoreline, you'd never have guessed it, but Disturbs already, I think, is approaching 9 kills in total, which is just monstrable. There we go. We've got it. 9-2 for the Mozzie. We're barely 4 rounds in already. He's a single frag away from reaching double digits, fighting and keeping his team alive here. Bit of a role switch up. No more garage. No more middle floor either. Obviously, the latter of the two being available, but the former is locked off. Instead, we're going to go to split. CEO has seen a large drop-off in the pick right here for T3, especially. And teams really just do not like that objective. It's so easy to get a ton of horizontal pressure simply by going on repel. And as long as you've got your runouts covered with air jabs, claymores, or an equivalent, you can freely pressure into the site and make a lot of common safe spots very unplayable. And I think that's why teams do not like to play that objective, instead favoring a site like the first floor, going between split and the basement, or choosing to play garage, which I would label, frankly, the primary bomb site. It's been 3 attempts so far from Phantom Legion, only winning it on their most recent try. And maybe this is showing them feeling a little bit uncomfortable in those first 2 rounds. It takes a bit to get settled in when you're playing with a sub. And now that they've got everything under wraps and Challenger has been able to find his track, that's the confidence that they need in order to play better and fight off against Hostile Action.
The question becomes, will Hostile Actions be able to break down Phantom Legion's momentum and finally break the cycle of them winning their rounds? We know we're only about 4 rounds in. We're going on to our 5th, and there is only 2 rounds for each of the teams, but it seems like Phantom Legion is finding their way. They're finally, like you said, they're finding an absolute, a round win. Round wins, round counts. They're finding that, and the way that they're going to be able to do that in the next few rounds is going to be super huge. I mean, it's going to be paramount in their success. But I think that we do have a little bit of a switch up on the squads here. It's going to be Triss on the Pulse and Giorno on the Kaid. Something you do normally expect being a Tellers and, a blue hole or Cerberus, or whichever you want to call it. And I think, I like the Pulse being played, It's that up-in-your-face type of information with the ability to frag on it, with the ability to actually act on it. And instead of it being, a Valkyrie or being, a Mozzie, somebody who has that passive intel, but it's actually somebody who can do something about it. And that's why I like Pulse so much, but you do swap firepower in the situation. He only gets the UNP, and he's got to use it very sparingly, to say the least. But the question is, will he be able to get the Nitro Cell kill? Will he be able to spot out the intel? And obviously he's feeding lots and lots of intel for his team, and that's great, but that doesn't, that's not the end all in this round. Most definitely not.
Hostile Actions in control of the vertical play, forcing and relegating fans down to the basement where they will be playing. Zag attempts the first defuse. He should be safe and on top of his counter or on the file cabinet, and in fact he will, and this is nightmare. Now the plant is down and Hostile Actions get to protect in this retake, and Phantom Legion are in the deficit, forced to fight back, and Hostile Actions really making the best of it. We'll see yet another kill, a double for Dom, one for Exum, and now a 1-5. Disturb gets the first to make it his 10th, but that's all he can do, and Hostile Actions should never have gotten that plant down, because that's exactly when the round was lost.
Right, and I think Phantom Legion really dropped the ball on this one. I told you about how Pulse was playing for Intel. My question is, where was the Pulse when the plant was going down? He knew that somebody was sitting there, Sanitary. He knew that he couldn't necessarily do anything about it, but then where were the other players on it? They had such a indirect hold. None of them were trying to sit on the first floor or even, well, they were sitting on the first floor, but they weren't sitting even relatively close. That was their first mistake. There was nobody attempting to hold. They didn't even know what was going on by the time that it hit them, and it was like, it was a ninja defuse, and it turned into a great attack, and the attack was mounted already to the point where you know that Phantom Legion lost by that defuse. There was no way that they were going to win it out. The angles being held were just too strong. I mean, they were all kind of cornered down on the bottom floor. I think that if they had, some type of way of knowing when that defuse is going down, or actually a literal body holding, maybe even top floor looking down, that's why you normally sit in admin for that. I think that they could have definitely changed up the round a lot, but for them to all be sitting either on bottom floor or sitting on the other side of the first floor was not the play.
I'd also like to point out the fact that Phantom Legion just gave up control of the top floor. They didn't try to hold it at all, and to defend Split, you've got to be dynamic in the areas of map control that you've got under your thumb. And I don't think forfeiting the top floor really is very conducive to a victory on Split, because the big problem is the fact that the attackers have to get a plant inside of tellers. And having so much pressure from above in order to lock off the rotations just narrows down what Hostile Actions must think about. We've got a smoke plant, I assume, on the cards here for the main door. Limbo moves in with coverage, and it's exactly what'll be happening here. This can't be another plant. Nobody in a position to deny it, and luckily, finally, at the last second, nearly an inch left on the diffuser, we'll see it canceled, but now Hostile Actions, because of Phantom Legion's trifling, are in the man advantage. Huge margin. They've only got 2 players left. Amazi swings, he's cut down Exum on the Ash. 8 and 3, nearly dueling the amount of frags we see on the side of the Mazi, and now Bud on the reverse rappel. He's got to do something to go aggressive, but Dom is waiting for it, and that'll be a fairly confident 4-2 attack split.
Right, you are. So I think a lot of what went wrong with that round was Hostile Actions assuming that they could get away with the same exact things, even though last round was a lot different. This round, completely different site. I mean, they attempted the ninja defuse, they attempted to play super aggressive, and they got shut down because of it. This is not the site where you can do something like that and just be able to, win it out by chance and hold your angles correctly. No, you have to secure bits of the main lobby, and that's why it became so easy for Phantom Legion to shut them down. And on top of that, Hostile Actions almost did get that, though. That's kind of what concerns me, because they're literally sitting on the site with them. They're playing directly with them. I think that plays into the fact that Phantom Legion had such a deficit in intel, and they didn't know what was happening. Their game sense was really off for the past few rounds. They were trying to, combat the plan, but they also, were confused what was going on, and it's chaotic. Absolutely everything about it is chaotic. So I think both teams have things to work on in terms of, defense, attack, but hopefully we'll be able to see something a little bit different now that we've come into the split. And you know Phantom Legion has got their way.
10 seconds to go.
I think it's actually kind of weird. You know, I'm gonna kind of shift points here. I think Hostile Actions having 4 rounds going on to their defense gives them a huge leg up. Honestly, you know, getting 4 rounds on your attack rounds is a feat of its own, being that this game in general is just very defender-sided. Regardless of the map, regardless if it's attacker or defender-sided, I think they've gotten themselves into a pretty great round score position to go on to their defense rounds, truly.
Another important thing to talk about within that point is the simple fact that in a lot of their matches, Hostile Actions tend to perform better on the defense. They're not the best attacking team, especially if you look at maps like Villa. They've got barely like a 27% attacker win percentage, which is not the best. Their best map on defense, I think it's Cafe, but they've only played a single match on it. So that's not the best sample size, and so far they've performed, I think their skill is definitely good here, but Phantom Legion are playing into their style. And we talked about the fact that they can be kind of a reactionary team, and I think that's the biggest issue we're seeing them face currently, is the fact that they see what Hostile Actions are doing and they're not reacting to it. They're not changing their play to be, you know, better in a position in order to counter it. I mean, Hostile Actions are just sprinting into the building in some of these rounds, going for very ballsy plays, and Phantom Legion aren't anywhere in a mistake or in a position to really punish those mistakes. But frankly, that's kind of in the past now that Hostile Actions have secured their split. It's 4-2, and we'll move on to the attack with Phantom Legion looking to propel themselves into the driver's seat. Another issue that's been a major stumbling block for them is the fact that they have very rarely led in the kills. Almost all of the rounds I think that we've played in the first split, it was an opening frag for Hostile Actions. Only that final round did we see it opened up by a member of PLG, and that was Trist, but he was immediately refragged. So the impact it had was not the greatest, and the refrag trade game, I think with the coach, is difficult to pull off, and Exum gets very aggressive on the Vigil. He guns down Trist, and so that fragger, the sole entry on this team, goes out without much of a peep.
Right, and I think we're seeing by and large there's not a lot of team play and cohesion going on right now. There's a lot of, you know, they're on their own, they're kind of playing individually, and I think that's going to be highlighted a lot more in their attack rounds. Disturb picking up 1 as an intermission while I'm saying that, but yeah, I think they're playing very individually, and the game sense right now is just not there. We're not seeing a lot of plays, a lot of knowledge that we're supposed to have, a lot of knowledge that we're supposed to know during the game, like how the plant is going down, for example, even when the roles are switched. But we're going to be seeing lots and lots of chaos. I need to get out of what I'm saying for a 3-2, now a 2-2 split with the diffuser already going down. Oh my god, Disturbs and Buzz trying to get into a power play position. Buzz playing above while Disturbs is playing outside of the breach. Zag and Limbo are left to have to find their way, get the frags and or fusion. So Zag and Limbo both coming in. Will it be a refrag situation? It will not. Buzz, he takes both of them down single-handedly.
This is the Phantom Legion we were hoping for. That was a bit of a awkward situation there towards the end. And now the half is closer to even. 3-4 for Phantom Legion. Maybe they'll take this next one and start to propel themselves. Consulate is a map that's very iffy. I think a large part of what makes the map defender or attacker sided revolves around the skill of the teams that are playing. If you've got 2 very high skill teams, then I think the attackers take a lot of advantage. But it's really hard to quantify how the map will play, because there's a lot of opportunities for early frags, and that can certainly affect the way that it's played. Hostile Actions, as I mentioned, got so many opening picks in the first split, and now Phantom Legion are looking to try and rectify that. Even if they won the round, they still did lose that opener, but the fact that we saw Disturbs find the refrag was huge. I have to point it out, though, and I'm sure everyone has noticed. 8 rounds in, Disturbs, he's got 12 kills, but the rest of his team, they've got very little.
I think we can assume that he's single-handedly carrying his team with kills. And that's not to say that it's necessarily bad as long as you have a team composition that can support and be around Disturbs getting the kills. We know that he's playing Zofia. We know that he's, playing Mozzie. He's playing all those operators that can get kills, but the question still lies, is his team trying to support him doing so as well? I don't necessarily think that they're playing, out of ordinary, trying to set up Disturbs as much as possible for the kills, but I think they're honestly just falling into his lap. We see that Buzz got a clutch last round, and I think that every player has a clutch potential and that every player has a potential to get those frags. It just happens to be falling in Disturb's lap, either via the character selections he's making or maybe because, his skill is just outright insane. We don't know, but either way, I think this map is coming down to be more of an attacker-sided map than anything else. We see that Phantom Legion won their first attacking round very definitively, and Hostile Actions kind of pulled out that same, that kind of same theme, right? We saw the 4-2 split, so, I mean, I'm just really excited to see Phantom Legion on this next attacking round. I think it's going to say a lot for how well they can adapt with, Hostile Actions going the same exact objective, and how well Hostile Actions can adapt to Phantom Legion specifically as well.
One mile marker you can look at here is the success, or lack of success, of Exum on his roam. We saw him gun down, I think it was Trist, really early in the previous round on the Visa stairwell. And if you can try to replicate that again, you can deal even more of a blow to Phantom Legion. They might come to blows. Talk about the pre-fires back and forth here between the Mozzie and the Ash. Devils falls back further as Trist gives it up, but another player aggressing over here by Antechamber. They've got plenty of intel and the manpower to back up this take. Trist will move in. He's closing the angle. Can he get it? The Mozzie holding safe. He spots him, but behind the table, Trist will gun him down. Finally, the fragger Element moving down the yellow stairs, searching to double up and take a second. Phantom Legion starting off with the opening kill, and Hostile Actions playing safer now, closer on site. One player still left unaccounted for. That's Exum. He returns back now inside of Highway, and Phantom Legion begin the vertical game. 40 seconds here at the Vigil. Will take up a very aggressive position on yellow. He guns Trist. Twice now in a row, we see him take down the first attacker. Maybe he'll look for a second. The Zofia swings it, but Disturbs is better on the aim, and now down 23 seconds. You've got to push for the execute here and now. Challenger approaches the breach, and the utility gets cleared. The gas canister flies on through to deny, or rather protect, the plant. Still nothing much left here for the rest of Hostile Actions. Limbo gets the first frag. Can he make it for a second? Playing the shield. It's a leap of faith for Phantom Legion, jumping over the railing. The Jaeger will fall, but Zag gets his pick. Shut down quickly though now, and we're back at the same position we saw previously, a 2v1 with the diffuser down and Buzz ready to protect this advantage. Hostile Actions will have a lot to do.
Right, you are. Definitely. Dumb. I mean, he doesn't really have too much of a chance. Yep. He doesn't really have too much of a chance with Buzz holding with that sight all the way, the 2.5 all the way from the back wall, the back little pillars area. But I think I was getting a little bit worried there for Phantom Legion on their attack. They only took Piano in the last minute of play. What that says is that they need to speed up their pace a little bit. They need to be able to, either via utility or even the face check, kind of like how Trist did, they need to be able to take control of specific spots on the map better. We know that Mozzie wasted a lot of time for the attack. And so what do you do to stop that? What do you do to prevent Mozzie from taking up so much time? You can play vertically, you can use your utility. I mean, there is a whole spectrum of things that you can do to combat that. So I guess just my question is, why was it 1 minute left on the clock and they only started making their 20-second meta execute by that time? And I also think that, yeah, Phantom Legion, they became frag heavy. They are a general frag heavy team, so that played into their hands, but when is that going to happen next? You know, how are they going to be able to get that lucky again?
5 seconds left.
One thing that I would have liked to see in that previous round was maybe a more conservative use of the gas canisters. It felt like Zag kind of popped them a bit early, and so when the execute came down, he really had not many left. I think he used one to deny the main breach, but it seemed like the brunt of the push for Phantom Legion was from yellow, and that's where the majority of the frags came from. The ace, all he did at the front gate was just get the plant down. Disturbs holding this angle, and Exuum dying early is a very poor omen here for Hostile Actions. To lose him with no really time burns off the clock is quite the large issue, especially for a split bomb site. You've got to have that roam presence in order to force the attackers off. And burning the clock, I think, is probably one of the most important elements beyond simply denying the plant.
I definitely agree with you on that point, but let's get into the actual attack strategy, shall we? So we know that EXO was taken out, and we know that the attack is going to do a bottom-up push, but their first kind of contesting point is going to be from Limbo. He's playing Pulse all the way back in the server room, all the way back in Blue Room. There probably isn't going to be a direct competition between Disturbs and Pulse, but on the off chance that there is, that could be huge for PLG to take out Pulse. That's a lot of intel that you're going to be forfeiting throughout the round, and Pulse normally for this type of hold is so huge in being able to cap the, being able to hold down both floors. He's great in detecting, you know, what's going on around him, having that awareness to do whatever is needed, but it will be Pulse that actually comes out victorious, surprisingly, from an unsuspecting Disturbs. So that's Disturbs down for you, a huge fragger of this game, and we're gonna have to see how that plays out into the hands of Hostile Actions, which team can prove to be best on this, and a double kill, but a refrag for Limbo as he gets taken down. He gets capped, and now it's going to be a 3v2 with Dom and Devils left to defend, about 40 seconds on the clock.
Phantom Legion close in on Tellers. Their grasp is strengthened and the plant will have to come soon. The Maestro is still alive here, so theoretically he can try to deny the plant, and we'll see that. Giorno, he attempts it, goes down. Maybe the Evil Eye in the Nitro Cell attempted to do that job. The Evil Eye, I think, was cleared, though, and maybe Buzz is going to try to go for it again. He doesn't even bother picking up Giorno. Devils comes on over, but no Nitro in hand. He lands the headshot, and Dom, a Nitro from Devil to confirm, and all the Hostile Actions take the lead.
Oh, my word. What a play that was. I mean, what an absolute play that was coming from the hands of Hostile Actions. It almost was really worrying that the plant would have gone down, with especially with Giorno down and Buzz attempting that. But I think overall that was a great play on the side of Hostile Actions, playing under the vertical holes, and just Dom attempting to have that game sense and move up for a more aggressive face check. And he eventually won his encounter. And I just think I don't really have any complaints with that round, other than on the side of PLG, with them, they lost a lot of players to somebody who's supposed to be playing purely for intel. I think that speaks a lot on their intel specifically and their ability to frag, because you do not lose to the UMP. Sorry, I kind of messed up. And you do not lose to the UNP. You simply do not. I mean, even if Pulse has all the intel on you in the world and he still face checks you and he still walks out, you should have known. I feel like even with the Mozzie, even with the Mute, you know, you can't just be randomly walking down those long corridors and expect nobody to be there, or even get bested by somebody who you knew was there but just pre-fired you. I have a hard time believing that the UNP won between the UNP and Zophia's assault rifle.
especially versus Disturbs. Like, you would
Right.
think of anyone to lose that gunfight, it's not going to be Disturbs, who has just been on an absolute heater so far this match. I think from the previous 9 rounds we've seen, he's got like a 1.55 KPR, which is very impressive. Usually you don't see much beyond a 1.2, and it just proves a testament to his skill for this new player, the newest to the team. So far, Consulate has been just garage round after garage round. We saw it played 3 times in the opening split, already 3 for the second, making that up to 6 total for the 10 rounds of play. You do the math on that one as far as the percentage, but yeah, it just seems like garage is the site to play here. Phantom Legion attempted it 3 times, only that 1 win we saw on round 4. Exum holding a dangerous game here. He escapes deeper inside of admin with his life to claim. And Triss still holding off on the angle. Oh my word, a ton of damage done to Buzz. Exum escapes back as he slithers closer to the heart of the objective, and Buzz, well, he's just forced to play passive now. The Gridlock, already not the strongest operator in terms of her gun power, suffers more with the fact that she's sitting below 25 health. Limbo continues to apply pressure at Banana. He'll try to force off maybe one of these coming attackers as they move on down towards grass. But for the rest of the team, hostile actions have mostly forfeited this roam. Does Triss know about it? No, he rotates. One player holding on yellow. I don't know if they've droned Exum out now that he's rotated back up. Seems like he just somehow manages to take bits of map control when you would least expect it here. And with 1 minute and 5, if he gets a frag, it could likely be the nail in the coffin that secures hostile actions match point.
And what's interesting about this is that you have about 1 minute left on the clock, and yeah, we just start seeing frags. So the pace is a little bit slower, but it actually might end up working out for Phantom Legion if they can continue to secure these frags and start making that grandier push that we need to see. See, Challenger wins off 1 from the, I believe it was from above. I'm not actually quite sure where that came from, but it comes down to be Zag being the sole defender left alive. He's doing his best to use out his utility and prevent the attackers from walking in, but it won't be enough, right? They're still gonna have to disable that diffuser, and it's 1v5. I mean, what else can you do about it? You know, he doesn't have any type of possession in his hands. He's got a really bad foot. It just doesn't look good for him all around. On top of that, he only has about 55 health.
Versus 5 opponents with the SMG-11, you're really only going to get maybe a few kills for just to pad your stats. I like that he tossed. It was a nice arc deep over by side white. Unfortunately, it didn't deny the plants. I think even if it had landed correctly, it still wouldn't have done anything. And Disturbs that final kill, just a formality to secure Phantom Legion round 10. Continuing to make Consulate a competitive map. It's 5-5 now. Hostile actions, we talked about the importance of this during the pregame phase. Securing their map is the big fundamental key. You got to get something out of this. Phantom Legion, if they take not only this win, but go on to play confidently on their pick of Villa, a map that we know that they are good on, that would skyrocket PLG, I think, ahead of hostile actions, not only in terms of the round differential, of the points the map wins, but also the head-to-head. Those 4 combined to make a deadly combo, one that hostile actions will have real trouble to surmount should they try and fix their game up for the rest of the season. What hostile actions need is a round win, and now guarantee at least that overtime, at least the single point that heading to OT would give you. That's the bare minimum here for HA, who have just struggled to really get any significant bank of points going. So far, their leaderboard economy has been pitiful through the season, and getting something here and now for Consulate, even just that one singular point from an OT win, OT loss even, would be just something, because you're already pretty much done with the first split, the first half of the entire Season 4, just the whole entirety of it. And to be in the position we see them in now is very difficult to fight back from, and you would need not only your team to play a very consistent game for the rest of the season, you would also need a few set of certain circumstances to happen between your opponents, and that is just the worst feeling. Coming from, being in a position as a former comp player, no one likes their fate to be decided by the match results of another team. To leave it out of your hands is dreadful.
And so this round is going to prove which team is going to walk into match point. It's going to prove which team is going to have the better morale for the rest of the game. I mean, it's actually pretty huge being at 5-5 scoreline, because then we go into match point for whichever team wins it, and it's only a round then to either get us into overtime or to get a win for Phantom Legion or Hostile Actions. And right now I'm going to predict Phantom Legion is at odds to win this out, being that they've been so consistent in their wins. They've been trying to, they've obviously put up more rounds on attack than they have defense, which is going great in their favor, but they're still going to have to put up a really consistent showing if they want to win this game. That's the simplicity of it, right? And so,
yeah, I mean, just win, Forehead. That's what you got to do. Maybe that's mean.
Just win. Just win your ones. Just win your ones. And you'll win.
What Disturbs is hoping to do as he approaches the long haul. Hostile Actions have decided that the top floor will likely be their last stand in trying to deliver themselves to match point. Phantom Legion encroach further on the HAS territory. The drone is shot out and Exum drops down the hatch. Nice feat of footwork there, but a wonderful shot through the wall will delay the push even further now, and losing Zofia disturbs the star fragger, the top performer, and the overall player for Phantom Legion is a disappointing loss, to say the least, and will contribute, I imagine, to a lack of supplies when you need to push further onto the site. Hostile Actions have achieved their hopes. They burned out a lot of the clock, looking to make this vertical angle happen onto the waiting devils below. The mute hold safe at piano. He rotates around to hold the bomb chassis angle, and Phantom Legion have got to get going here. Exum on the flank will probably deny this. The Maverick is waiting for it. A nade! Oh, it's just seconds too late. If they had cooked it, it might have worked. Triss with two, though. He's in mid-sight, and now Challenger will fall. It's a 2v3. Buzz begins to plant, but is the coverage there? You've got to worry about Exum coming up on the flank. He gets one! Triss with the quad kill. Give him the aces. One player left. Triss goes down, and now Buzz to confirm it. Phantom Legion will take match point.
Oh my word. The way that push was catalyzed by one single kill, and in one, it wasn't even the kill, it was a number of things that led up to that. But I think that finding their kill, finding their way, finding the hole in the defense was huge for the main lobby, and once they took that, it was all up to, the fragging power of Triss. We talked about Triss and how the game falls on his shoulders if we don't see, especially a good showing from Disturb. It falls on him because you know that PL is a very frag-heavy team. You know that they are huge for having those setups where they rely on the kills. And Triss right there, that's the best definition of it. So this puts them into match point. This gives them that high morale. They just got the clutch. They just finally secured the round that they need to push them into their 7-5 win. The question is, will it happen? We see another split hold. And this time around for Hostile Actions, they're going to have at least some control of admin or one of the rooms around it, or even I don't even know what else to say, because it needs to come down to, because they don't have a pull set play, mind you, they do not have a pull set play, so they don't have that extra intel. So they're going to need to do something about holding admin to prevent the pressure from PLG.
Well, here comes Exum. He's on an aggressive angle from Connector, watching down towards the gap in the wall, but he gives it up early and loses out on the opportunity that Giorno may have given him. And Dom taking a bit of a sliver of health. I'm not sure where exactly that was from. It looked like it was over by the Villa, or rather Visa window. I'm getting ahead of myself in our second map. But To lose out is not what you want here for the Maestro. He's got the Alda to back himself up, though, so not the most dreadful loss. The split objective played again. We saw Phantom Legion had what you would say not the best attacking execute last time this site was played. Here comes the Ash creeping around, looking for the Vigil, I think. So he might look to drop the hatch and gun down Trist early. For the player who secured the quad kill, taking him out would be ideal, and I think that goes without saying between himself and Disturbs. Getting the entry here could be paramount. Hostile actions lose. Phantom Legion advanced to their own pick with the confidence that they took a decisive win against their opponents. Trist looking deeper, closer onto the B objective. The Mute and the Mozzie, or rather Maestro, playing safe over by Stage and Server. This blue hall angle proves so lethal when we saw that pulse swing out. You've got to get the control here and now. If Phantom Legion can attempt to try to go for a plant down on the bottom floor, that might catch hostile actions off guard for what they may be predicting is a teller's take. But the massive dispersal of utility, of intel, of drones, and manpower should cue them in to the fact that Phantom Legion are going to go west to east for this play. And Challenger approaching as well. He's got the diffuser in hand, so that's our cue that we're likely to see the diffuser go down the basement. But hostile actions have done a great job to stall out the clock, and Phantom Legion look like they don't know what they want to do. They're still having a lot of trouble here clearing out this player just next to Harry Potter, but Trist tagged up below 50, charges up Banana. We saw him get a kill here again onto the player inside of Circle Desk, but the same will not be true for round number 10, or 12, and Disturbs now getting Limbo.
And we honestly can't count out Phantom Legion because we know that a lot of their executes have been made within the last about 30 seconds, 20 seconds of the round, and they honestly work best like that under pressure. They make the most frags that way, they hold down their executes the best, and it's when they're able to play as a team, it's when they're able to get frags as a whole, is when they can, you know, find their way through the round. But it seems like Disturbs, interestingly enough, is going to be going the top bit of the site rather than the bottom one. And EXO, he tries for one, but he gets refragged all the same, and it's now a 2v1 with Just Dom picking up one from bottom floor, and he has a big disadvantage going to this. He's on bottom floor, the plant's being made on top floor. This allows the attackers to find a very, very easy angle on him. He doesn't have a lot of areas at which he can funnel in at this point, so they know that it could be very, very simple to just frag him out. We're going to see that Buzz is the first player that Dom is going to have to fend off against. He's right by the diffuser. Will he go for the ninja diffuse? That's the question. We see that Buzz is onto his play. In about 15 seconds left on the clock. He's really trying for the ninja diffuse. Will he get it? He won't. And it was the bait that took him down. And Buzz to secure the last round that Phantom Legion needed to end the game.
That's Phantom Legion taking their decisive victory, 7-5 on their opponent. Map pick Consulate was hard fought. The first split went HA's way, but the second had a little bit more in it for G. Confidence and their stride, even with the coach playing still to get their win, to deny hostile actions from reaching that overtime and getting any extra points. We're going to head to our analyst desk just shortly so they can give you a more in-depth breakdown of what we saw on our very first map. So give it up to Chief and Smitatious.
Thank you so much, you lovely casters. And here we are. It's going to be the analyst desk. The new kids on the block showed up big. They were technically a man down, and that opening kill on the poor coach started everything off so roughly for the new kids, but they were still able to bring it back. And I love this execute. A great read from Hostile Action, understanding the circumstances there and utilizing those presets drones and sending it 110%.
I mean, in the end, it just came down to just hostile actions. It's something they did really well of the entire match was working off their opponent's mistakes. And in round one, the first mistake of PLG was just the fact that they did not reinforce the garage walls first. It ended up costing Challenger's life, and it was just a straight hostile actions win there. It was just a straight hostile actions round there.
And you're talking about working off each other's mistakes, but both of these rosters did a great job in that. And in round 11, where we are now, we see Trist doing exactly that. The entry IGL is going to orchestrate his troops to set up crossfires and deal with the offsite pressure and slowly pick apart all of that till they go to the plant. And then once they actually are in that planting scenario, we see everybody who's still alive from hostile action just say, uh-oh, bomb's about to go down. Let's hold Shift W and attempt to save the day. And that's the problem. When you're Shift Wing towards an attacker or defender, really doesn't matter, the likelihood of you actually winning that engagement is pretty low since your gun is pointed towards your toes.
Exactly. And also another contributing factor to that, just the PLG round there was just the fact that it seems like the push and antechamber and spiral stairs were not really coordinated that well. If they had just pushed together like at the same time, it probably would have caught Trist off guard and got the diffuser. And it just would have been a different story right there. Too bad it wasn't, because Trist, man, he went off that round, honestly.
I think you're bringing up a great point, because when the bomb is going down, sure, technically it might be a 2vx scenario, but it's technically now a 1vx, because the planter cannot actively challenge you, and when you're getting closer to 00, well, there's no way in heck that he's going to get off the bomb. So if you can set up like a multi-angle crossfire, or at least come from different door frames, I don't care how good of a player you are, you're not going to have enough mouse pad and reaction time to actively deal with both of those threats. But when you have this threat coming from one area and there's less than a meter between the two heads, it's going to be a free snap. If you're doing terrorist hunt or aim labs, that's a scenario that you've been training for literally your entire life as a Siege player.
I guess they just didn't play. Guess they didn't just play enough terrorist right there. They need to learn off the bots. They just need to learn off the bots.
Well, I mean, right, if you're playing, plant the bomb for your T-Hunt, right? You have like 8,000 terrorists that instantaneously rush you, and you are practicing, flicking between the heads in a space this big, right? That's exactly what you've been training for. And I love the attempt for the ace, pistol in hand, but unable to secure it. But nonetheless, it was secured by a teammate. And here in round number 5, and we'll eventually go to round number 8, it's how to defend Split properly. Split is one of the best bomb sites on this map if set up properly by the defenders. But in this overhead, you don't see any of the floor destroyed. It is completely soft, or completely, I guess, hard, however you want to look at it. The tables that can be destroyed aren't destroyed. Anybody can just stand up on an elevated position. Your nitro cells won't find their targets because they don't go through metal surfaces, and all of a sudden the round just crumbles because of your setup. That would have been a completely different round. Phantom Legion does everything right except for one small oversight in their prep.
Exactly. And you can see later, I think it's round 6 right now, but in round 9, it was the same exact site. This time it's a little different. Hostile Axis were on defense, and they played it way better than PLG in round 5. They had the holes in the floors, and they were able to actually destroy or delete the plant. Imagine just deleting the plant. But anyways, they ended up winning the round because they actually were set up appropriately. They destroyed I think it was a table, and I think it was really key to just the plant positioning there.
Yeah,
they could really play on the file.
So yeah, they not only destroyed the tables, but they also made up holes. So in the event that they actually planted on, the bookshelf, for example, or if they, planted, on that like the half wall or the 2 indestructible tables, a nitro cell will still kill them, or you can just shoot them through the floor because you set up your angles. That's what's imperative about Split. But if you make the mistake of leaving the floor soft, you're never going to be able to defend those elevated positions. Now, in the meta, we've actually seen Pulses run his shotgun, and that is to give you that extra flexibility in the event that you realize that you can't actually nitro cell a particular area, but we didn't see that come out at all either.
Yeah, honestly. It's just the whole shrapnel system could have really been a doozy there if they had just made the holes in the floor.
Yeah. So I'd love to pick your brain on this, since not only is the best bomb site press, we really didn't see a lot of the teams try to go for it. They were hard stuck at going downstairs in the basement. At least in NAL stage 1, the best bomb site was Press, and for the past, I think, year, or maybe 18 months, Press has been one of the best bomb sites, and CEO actually becoming the worst. But it seems like both these rosters are just so tunnel vision on going to this particular bomb site and losing defenses on it.
It's just all about comfortableness. You know, they just I guess they weren't really comfortable on lobby. I would honestly, like, if I were them, my defensive rotation probably would have been maybe a lobby press, then barrage, and then archives tellers. Definitely not CEO. The CEO would never be on my defensive rotation. It's not a good site comp wise. It's a good rank site though. I'll give them that.
Now, it honestly, window repel bonanza, where you just have every single attacker somewhere on a window. Good luck leaving your little hidey hole, right? And that's why that's why this map has actually gone attacker sided, is because it's hard for the attackers to enter the building, but once they have control of the building, they get the bomb down, they leave the building, and the defenders have to basically execute on attackers all the way out in the grapes. Good luck winning that with your one-time sight.
Now, I know this is kind of like an insight thing because we could actually see where the attacker is positioned out here. But all Maestro had to do was just go along yellow wall and just kind of sneak his way and long arm the bomb. He would have had a ton of chance right there. All he had to do was just long arm our bomb, and that would have been a different story right there too. It definitely would have resulted in a win for them.
And you can see the execute starting to work in favor of the attackers here in round number 9, which is another split execute. They deal with all the offsite pressure, they have the man advantage, and now it's time to go for the execute. But they haven't actually dealt with the pressure all the way here at Archives. This is exactly where Hostile Action wants to be. They can still hold the 2 Fatal Funnels into Archives and actively deal with Plant Denial, even without the Pulse available. Why? Because of the pre-made holds. You don't even need to utilize that Nitro Cell because you can look in every possible plant scenario.
And another thing when it comes to this attack round over here, I think PLG, they really played it well, just attacking horizontally.
Yeah.
Because when you go this site, you're expecting them to take vertically, right? Because if you leave it open, you know, they're like, oh, it's free real estate. But when you attack horizontally, their whole setup is revolved around just attack or defending vertically, right? But when you're attacking horizontally, they ain't gonna know what to do.
That's a great
point. It's just guns up there.
Now, round 6 was kind of this fun round that I know we talked about, and smoke grenades are a great tool for the attackers if you use them right. Far too many attackers basically just want to smoke off their planner by just basically chucking it at his forehead and hope it lands where they want. You need to be smoking out deep. The first smoke grenade I accept as being good because it smokes off antechamber. I think that second was an attempt to lock down the top hatch, but sadly it just doesn't land properly. It smokes out his long line of sight. Everything just starts to kind of fall down after that. But it could have been better nonetheless. But it sounds like our casters are finally ready to deliver us to map number 2. So let's send it over. Mr. Sticula, take us away.
Well, hey guys, we're back for map number 2 of the evening. Wonderful by Smetaceous and the very lovely Chief. But we've got our second game just moments away. We'll PLG's pick, and it looks like a solid map for them, finally finding their stride. And I think we've got the coach back where he should be in the Discord call, and Dan, the 5th member of this roster, in play. So good to see that we're back at a full fighting strength, and for Phantom Legion to have pulled off that 7-5 win to evade overtime and still take it in regulation with the coach in play is a strong statement in favor of them.
Most definitely. And I think as we move on to Villa, we're going to see that heavier reliance on utility. We're going to see that PLG may end up truly getting bottlenecked. We saw that they had a bit of a slowed down pace when they were attacking on Consulate, and they need to be aggressive to take those big spots, those huge, you know, those highway, low way, you know, the absolute funnel spots, that the big spots that you need to take for Villa, simply put. And I also think that HA doesn't do well with aggression, especially towards the end of the round. They kind of fall under the stress of it all, and they end up losing out their gunfight. So PLG might be able to once again capitalize on that effect, and we could be seeing a really good matchup because there's a lot of factors that play in the hands of PLG, lots that play in the hands of Hostile Actions. It just happens to be, you know, which one can be used to either side in the best way possible.
Moving into the operator bans, we've got initially the Thatcher removed, but also the Jackal banned out by Phantom Legion. So I wonder if this is cueing us into what will be a heavy roam from them on the defense. They don't want to get spotted out and tracked down by that Inox, and so they'll decide to remove the Spanish operator. You've also got Malusi taken out, so no more concerning Banshees on the objective, stalling your progress and impeding your execute. The final ban to come through, likely a Mira, maybe a Maestro, but in actuality, it'll be that same Valkyrie ban we saw back on Consulate. So not a huge focus on those outside black eye cameras, or maybe a couple little cheeky bits of intel coming from a cam on the interior and around get underway. As far as the operator bans, the Jackal is definitely the odd one out here. Villa is a huge map. There's so many tiny corners that you can hide in, especially down in the basement. I like to call it the home of the rats, because that's exactly what it is. You put somebody down there, a defender in the basement, you wait, just like we saw Exuum do during Consulate, and you just tell him, when you're ready, come back up and sideline the offense. And it works so well, unless you see somebody on the flank watch. But curiously enough, in this very first round, there is no flank watch.
Right, and since there is no flank watch, they're going to have a bigger reliance on that intel and potentially actually putting bodies on your flank and having to counter any type of flank strategy. You know that Hostile Actions is a very aggressive team. You know that they have a lot of plays in their hands towards the roaming strategy, so I can only assume that Phantom Legion would know this, especially that they banned out Jackal specifically. So I just gotta wonder what is in store for that flank watch. Like you said, is there going to be, you know, drones being placed down? We know that Giorno, he can use his clones to have a really successful entry, but will he be able to use that for the flank watch capabilities? I'd like to see something like that during the round. We also do have Buck, Zofia, and Ash on the board, so lots and lots of soft destruction in the way of Phantom Legion. This could suggest good entry, but it also could suggest a very big dependability on the vertical play, which is exactly what it seems like they're going to do. They're going to go from below, take out any of the defender utility, which once again is huge in bottlenecking the attack, and they're going to do away with it.
It looked like Limbo was preparing to go for an aggressive jump out of the bathroom window, but nope, actually spawned over at Fountain, and so he thinks the better of revealing his position. Buzz on the Buck opens up the floor, and no longer can you play close on the wall. Dan's got Thermite, not the most common hard breacher that you would see on Villa, and with everyone else available, it's curious that he brings the exothermic charges. The 5.56 is such a fun weapon to use, and Exuum dangerously dancing near a frag grenade at his behind. It detonates closer to the classical hallway, and he seems to escape unfaded. Drum moves up, and this is Triss getting very aggressive. He wants to clear this angle. A gas canister, though, will detonate, and it obscures his path as he's forced to rotate out, instead going for the veranda rappel. A lot of a stack up here from Phantom Legion, applying very little pressure over towards 90 long. Zag with the reinforcement locks off that rotate, much the same as you would expect from Elbow, and Trist, now after his earlier congestion, takes control of top study. Confronted with a shield, though, deeper by 90, as Dan will apply an exothermic. They're going to probably try and get this open and go for what is likely to be a bar take. It seems the objective on the A side has been mostly forfeit now as Hostile Action recoils back deeper, but Devil still finds his entry.
Right, and recoiling back deeper is going to be the theme of this round. It seems like Hostile Actions has found their way into the tiniest bits of the site, the little tiny corners that they can find their angles from, and that's not necessarily a good thing, especially being that it could end up with the attacks absolutely surrounding them. We know that Villa is a map where having the defense surrounded is not a good thing, especially with the objectives being so close together and so small. It makes for attacker utility being so huge in shutting down the defense, and we have a lot of that right now, so it definitely could be a possibility in the coming moments, but we definitely do see an attack mounting from the side of Study. We know that there's most likely going to be a bar execute, but Devils on the double kill. Giorno trying to pick off one on the refrag. Will he be able to finish off this round, though? It just seems like PLG lost it all at the same time, and no, it'll be hostile actions in the end to finalize the first round.
I think that round you can break it down to one simple factor, and that's Phantom Legion attempted to force in through a few doors. You've kind of got to be dynamic when you attack AVG. That's what makes the attack successful. The multitude of walls that you can open up inside of games, nearly every single face of that site is open from at least one direction, and Phantom Legion, PLG, they just tried to go for one. They tried to run in through the main breach, and I think the issue was with that push is they got kind of sidetracked, and as well, what we saw from Dan is that he placed the exothermic down as far close to the bottom of that wall as possible, and the reason why you would go for that is to avoid the potential for an impact trick, the type of which hostile actions were likely to go for. But what that resulted in was the wall, the opening, was not big enough for you to run through. There was a gap at the top that made it so when you tried to sprint in, you would get stuck up. And I think that contributed a lot to the fluidity of Phantom Legion's attack. They couldn't just push on through, right? Because they would have to crouch, they would have to kind of slow down, and if you're gonna force in through one door, the biggest advantage that you can have, and the sole thing that helps you be successful, is that speed.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Right, and what my analysis of that, my prediction of that was that hostile actions would actually be at a deficit because they were holding in that tiny vault area, and it left them open to, you know, that swing. It left them open to, you know, they had such predictable positions and they could just easily be capped off, but it seems like it played into their hands in the end, being that Phantom Legion had that unfortunate breach glitch, or, you know, the breach wasn't big enough because of the impact trick situation, but I think that, you know, had it been a different situation, had it been a slightly different play, maybe they played a little bit more dynamic, like you said, maybe they didn't funnel in through those predictable doorways, it could have ended up being a very successful round for Phantom Legion because they did everything else right. You know, they breached the hole, they got as much control as they could. I mean, down 90 was a little bit fishy because they didn't get control of low way, but either way, I think that they were set up to have such a good execute, and they just didn't do it. They got bottlenecked at the end, you know, the utility was shutting them down, and then the angles from Vault being held, you know, Devils on the two-man, it wasn't enough for Phantom Legion. It was too, well, it was actually too much for Phantom Legion, and they couldn't deal with it.
Wasting no time to apply pressure over by Red, it seems Phantom Legion try to go for a split take this round. Exuum taking a beating by Disturbs, who gets his second frag, and now the Jaeger will fall. Legion advance. Gonna have to move a little bit faster. You've got one player hiding behind the memorial wall, and he gets a second as Limbo collects. He's got the diffuser in his hands as well, and PLG, despite their earlier advantage in gunning down Exuum, find themselves in murky waters with a diffuser far outside the realm of their control. Buzz is going to try to force in from Pig, apply pressure to Zag, who's holding behind the B-bomb. You've also got the Maestro of Just Dom sitting closer to the chassis in the A site, and Buzz will rotate now, likely to recover the diffuser. But Limbo continues his killing spree now for a third, guns down Disturbs, and the Zofia will fall. Phantom Legion are going to have to get something big going for them, and Limbo still has plenty of room to negotiate. He could try to move up here, deny the plant with a nitro, or play it close with the shotgun. The detonation will happen, but no damage dealt on a buzz now. Clips the 20-second mark, and the execute will come from a divided standpoint. Dan is still over by Master, looking to try and contribute something inside of A, and Buzz pushes forward now. Limbo on the flank, covering this diffuser will be huge. If Limbo falls, this might just be winnable, but it's a quad kill. Doesn't get the ace, though, and it's a quick situation for a refrag as hostile action set up with 2.
I think going back to my original point, a lot of it came down to hostile actions keeping up their form and winning their ones. We saw that, I mean, absolutely big play on the part of the, I believe it was the mute, correct? From below in art gallery. I think that was Limbo.
Indeed.
Or was it?
Yep,
I'm thinking Limbo or Devils, but either way, we saw a huge play, huge showing, a display of sorts coming out from Limbo, and I think that was, I mean, it's a very, you know, outlier round because he did have such a big impact on the round, but I also think that it stands to say a lot for how PLG was playing. They kind of just crumbled under, you know, the fundamentals of hostile actions. They knew somebody was sitting there and they just played them. They played their ones so individually. They did not take the chance to refrag. They kind of just hit Limbo all individually, and it came down to him winning all of those engagements one by one, person after another, and it just, at that point, it becomes so easy for him to exceed, of course, because nobody is coming at him with the refrag. He's not getting dealt with properly. And for Phantom Legion, you know, that's a sign to them to say, you know, maybe we should have played out that round a little bit differently, that engagement specifically a little differently, prevented Limbo from having the big effect on the round that he did. But that's very situational. I think overall, as a round, Phantom Legion did really good in keeping up the pace. They just didn't have the players to stand behind.
Yeah, I think totally if they just hadn't had so many issues with Limbo down in Memo, much in a different direction. The fact that he just got a quad kill, I mean, says a lot about his performance, but PLG got caught up. They tried to solo push the first player who went in there. I didn't catch who it was, but the fact that they didn't drone it and the diffuser fell now forces Phantom Legions to completely shift gears. Now, that's a topic for another day and for the analyst desk to cover. We'll progress into round number 3. It's a dining defense. Trist moving early and Giorno in support. He'll likely use the X-Kairos to get an opening on the Tetris wall. Close to a swing here from Limbo. He's looking to tag on for another one, but thinks the better of it. Now he falls back to play it safer. The pull's still on the board with the Nitro Cell in pocket, joined by his compatriots of Limbo and Zag. It's a wide berth for the explosives here, something that Phantom Legion must keep in mind.
I was talking with another caster, another analyst the other night, and they were telling me about how being in laundry, having an early presence in laundry and making that rush is so huge for an execute on the attackers, because you can just, you know, forfeit the entire top floor presence, go around the roam, you don't even have to deal with that, and you can get into the objective, basically catching defenders with their pants down, and not have to deal with the formalities of doing the roam clear and get the plant down. But obviously, that doesn't seem like that's what's going to happen, because PLG are getting stopped by their ones. They're getting stopped by their individual plays. I mean, we see going back and forth equalizers happening all around, but still no plays being made, no actual plant going down, and that's a situation at hand here. I mean, Jorno's kind of getting stopped. He doesn't have anybody to help him, anybody to stand behind, and he loses his individual engagement. That leaves you down to a 1v3 where EXO is going to collect on Dan, but I think they just got shut down. I think Hostile Actions knew what they were going up against. They predicted it in a way, and they shut it down. That's just the simplicity of it.
HA with a flawless rotation. The set of 3 is theirs, and AVG will be the site we go to next. A repeat of that very first round. And something that I'd like to see here that we didn't have in the very first round was the pressure applied at 90. There was nobody on the classical rappel. They didn't even try to really go for any sort of a take from study, or rather from statue side. And I think if they tried to go for that here and now, it could be maybe a little bit more conducive to a successful plant and execute on 2 games. You have to take control of 90, because from there, if you don't have control of 90, you can't take control of the game's doorway. And you can't really play at bookshelf either, because you're so weak to a potential swing. And for Hostile Actions, a team that's been hitting their shots consistently all throughout the evening, really, that's not a gamble that you really want to take. And so I think if we had somebody go to the window, try to clear this shield, and deal with this utility Limbo will stack up, you could probably have a little bit more in terms of the pressure that you can apply to site. What happened last time is, you can see just inside of games, you've got really 3 main points of cover. You've got the bar and the bomb chassis. You can play behind there, maybe toss a smoke, and you've also got the billiards table. One final piece of cover is some kind of an overturned table, and that's where we saw the Legion of Devil Station. He got a massive multi-kill first round just by sitting at that position, and if you had somebody on the game's door, it would be that much easier to try and dislodge him. But we didn't see that last round, and I don't know if Phantom Legion are again, but clearing him out should be imperative, because Devil's he already proved that he can be successful from that position. A change in the composition here to note is the fact that Dan is on the sledge and Giorno is on the Habana rather than the Thermite we saw in the previous attempt.
Drone activated.
Alright, I think the name of the game here is going to be for area control. And right now, it seems like PLG is attempting their same exact strategy from the first round, which was attempt to take study, attempt to pick off the wall, this time going to be with Habana, and go from below, take out as much defender utility. I mean, it's generally a fundamental push, right? It's just how PLG ends up putting a spin on it, and this is obviously our first difference of the first round, with Triss coming up the red stairs. He's already making ways to capture 90. He's gonna move right into the objective, though. What's happening? And he gets shut down by Dom, who knew he was coming. Another frag is going to collapse. PLG once again disturbs, getting shot as well. So that is your 2 main fraggers. That's a lot of utility and a lot of manpower going down as well. 3v5 already. Doesn't seem like it's going to be very bright for the rest of the round for PLG.
They've still failed to clear this player. Finally, he falls, but it's a swift refrag as Exu his second, tries to go for the third. Now confident takeout. Dan is at full throttle. Dan moves forward, leaps on over, but Limbo has the crossfire in order to take him out. Hostile Actions have yet to be stopped, and the momentum is mounting here for Villa. And Phantom Legion have to do something about this. The opening frags are consistently not going their way, and Trist's game is much similar to what we saw on Consulate, if even a little bit worse. He cannot seem to find any frags, and I think to get into his head a little bit. If PLG can't stop this now and immediately turn it around, we might see a reversal of fortunes in Hostile Action taking their opponent's pick for Villa.
I just have to wonder if this round is going to play out the same exact way as last round did, which was, if you guys remember, a replay, basically, of the first round. So, I guess my question here is, will Phantom Legion switch up their pace, get a little bit more creative with how they approach the objective, or are they going to do the same exact play, which, if you guys remember, it was a play onto Art Gallery where Limbo ended up getting a quad kill, essentially shutting down PLG before they could even get a play in. And I don't know, this is very ranked to me. This screams kind of ranked because they're going for the same exact rush. They're not changing up any strategy. It seems like Hostile Actions has done about a 180 here, and so was Phantom Legion. You know, last game they were on a roll. They were playing a lot of different strategies, and they were countering and they were adapting and they were doing so much to prevent this proceeding from happening, but then now it's Hostile Actions that is doing the same.
Attackers have located a
And maybe
bomb.
they're just getting away with, you know, the simple things and, you know, having an inch and taking it to a mile, but I don't know. I just think Phantom Legion right now, their performance is really underwhelming and they need to change what lackluster plays they're making.
The coordination and the execute seem really far gone, and the guns of PLG are long since quiet. No shocking performance from Disturbs to carry them through the first split, such as we saw on Consulate's initial half, and that is just unfortunately something you can't always bank on. You can't bank on Disturbs approaching double digits through the first 2 rounds. He's barely got 3, not even going positive, and the rest of his team are at a similar situation. And Triss dropping a donut, I think, is starting to mount a bit of pressure on the mental game. A lot of people say that Villa is a very defender-sided map. I would contest that's changed with the recent meta, and teams have started to understand better what you need in order to establish a crossfire, but it just... How long can you use the excuse of what side is whose favor and, you know, all of this when ideally this is Phantom Legion's map, a map that they've played so frequently through their tenure inside of ESA, and additionally, I think played versus PogChamp on it. You would think with the lessons learned from that, you could easily trump Hostile Actions, but it's just not happening. Buzz will fall, so it's another opening frag that Hostile Actions have found, and with little response, Phantom Legion stall out and sputter as they move slower and slower at a snail's pace as they approach the objective. Still waiting for Hostile Actions to make the first move, not wanting to be the trendsetter and put themselves in a position where you might die out.
And we know Villa as a map that requires a lot of aggression in making moves in order to catalyze an actual execute, which is at about 30 seconds left on the clock what PLG is finally starting to understand. And, you know, they're making the frags, they're trying to get an equalizer going, but the question is, will they be able to continue this play? Will they be able to finalize the round? It actually may seem so. Devil is the last player left, and he gets capped by Dan, which shuts out our first round for Phantom Legion. And let me comment on this. I think that this round went like a lot of Consulate rounds went, where they had almost a 20-second meta. They made their frag heavy meta work, and they shut down the round from there. They kind of caught HA with their pants down. Like I'd been talking about, HA does not do well against really aggressive plays, especially late round. They're just not expecting it. And that round was, I guess, no different. It was no exception to it.
Well, ideally for Phantom Legion, this next defense would be what allows them to go 2-4 at the half, and maybe they've got something better to show us on the defense for Villa. In that last round, I think it just came down to some of the members on PLG quiet in the previous round, got their entries, and were able to coordinate and take positions that were more favorable to win their gunfights. Disturbs and Dan now both going positive, but Trist is still quiet without much impact that we've seen from him. It's been a lot of playmaking from Dan and Disturbs and Giorno and Buzz trying to support with utility to approach the objective and defeat what stands in their path. Hopefully for Dining, things will change and Triss can start to warm up, because he's not a player that you want to be quiet on the second half. If Hostile Actions come into Villa prepared to play that, they might just find the entries that can shut down Phantom Legion's hopes. It's definitely not long gone. Hostile Actions, even emerging with this round win, would still need 2 in order to close it out, and it's an early pre-fire from Disturbed, trying to claim an entry onto the site with that pre-fire through the pantry window.
And it looks like this round is just going to be a general consensus of what we've been seeing. It's really a lot of fundamental plays from Phantom Legion on their last round for our swap. Triss, once again, does not get a chance to play. He did not spawn in, unfortunately, going 0 and 6 on the Zofia, which is a huge miss on the side of PLG. He's going to have to get a switch up in his play if he wants to start making the big plays for Phantom Legion. The big plays being actual kills at Triss. But Zag, he picks up another kill. That's for Buzz, which is huge for your flank watch. Oh my lord, the utility going down is going to be big and defining a lot. Dan seemed to have taken a lot of damage from that nitro cell from below. And it's not looking all too good for PLG right now. They lost 2 really influential players right off the bat. Dan took a lot of damage already, and you still have 3 really great players up on the board. You got Dom, Zag, and Devils. So it's just how well are they going to fare against players that are built, essentially suited for late round passive holds.
Phantom Legion starting to suffer the effects of attrition. They're equal in but suffering in the health category. Dan breaches open the laundry wall, so hopefully try and apply some pressure from Tetris, but the rest of his team is nowhere to be found. They're still holding up on the vertical angles, and Dan tries to be that one-man army we know him so well for, but on the lawn, defeated by Zag, and now a 2v3. Disturbs already with a double kill, may have to come up big and get something even further. It's a hatch drop in the PLG future with 38 seconds. They're going to have to approach this execute with a swift take. Zag punished for over-aggressing, the ping and the swing. The Vector failing him in that long-range fight as it delivers Disturbs to only about 49 health. Devils tagged up even more so now as Giorno gets the damage dealt, and maybe this is winnable if we can see it move into a 2v2, but Hostile Actions know what's needed. They're going to continue to play it passive as Giorno charges through the mid site, taking a bunch of damage, but he should be able to plant behind the safety of the bomb chassis. It won't happen though, as Disturbs. A triple kill is what he's got. He might have a 4th in pocket, but it won't be happening. Hostile Actions 5-1 at the side split.
That is such an unfortunate play that was shut down by Hostile Actions. I think they're starting to get smart to the late round 20-second meta that PLG is starting to hand out to them. And this game really speaks to me as a game where a lot of early frags are going to be super defining for Hostile Actions. I think on Consulate, if we were to compare the 2 maps, we saw a lot of early frags go in the way of PLG, and who knows, it might be because Challenger was actually present. You know he's their coach, you know he's a big defining factor in understanding what's going wrong in the second and being able to pinpoint that. As a coach, you need to do that. That's your job. And so I think for him to be gone, it actually might be affecting Phantom Legion negatively. I mean, Hostile Actions is absolutely decimating them right now, and they honestly can't get away with the things that they were granted on Consulate, being that, you know, different map setup, you know, you had different players, it was different situations, whatever you want to call it. Right now, they're not changing what they're doing, and it's costing them big time. And not changing what they're doing, but they're also not changing to what Hostile Actions is doing either.
Phantom Legion have got to start out confident here, with Triss not having any speakable impact on the first split. He has to really make up for the lost time. And I just hope that he's not so far into the mental that it's just completely chalked. And hopefully he can, you know, kind of brush aside the first split and say, you know, we only got a single round, but here's what really matters. Taking this and moving forward, getting the ball going. Hostile Actions are applying a lot of pressure early. They're not suffering from some of those same stall-out mistakes and maybe looking to take control of top study. That's what we saw, big crux of the AVG round for Evolve around, and Disturbs is holding this very aggressive. He attempts a pre-fire, almost catches just Dom, the sledge inside Piano, with a nice wall bang. Limbo on the drone is looking to get this intel, and maybe they'll be able to push even further now as they know he's there. A pre-fire could be in his future, and to shut down Disturbs early would be devastating. Here it comes. Still playing passive, though. Limbo dodging back and forth. He wants to have the veritable take, but oh no! Trist on his roam is cut down. A 7th round with no kills. He's so suffering, and you've got to do something here. If Disturbs falls as well, Phantom Legion could be facing down a Hostile Actions primed and ready to take match point.
And we know right now that Disturbed sitting on the stairs could be very deadly for him if the attack finds their way to capitalize off of him being way too aggressive. He might just end up getting killed, and that leaves a big hole in the defense of Phantom Legion. We already do have a player down, being Trist. Disturbs, however, is going to pick up one. He does get refragged, though, from Limbo, a big man who's been showing up for Hostile Actions. So can we really say? I mean, I think that was quite an equal trade, but the area gained for Hostile Actions is most definitely going to prove in the future to be quite an important take. So I think that the trade with that, bodies specifically was equal, but with the area gain from Hostile Actions, definitely unequal. Now they are going to be moving into study here. You can definitely tell that this is a very similar take to the ones we've seen before. Nothing really too different from it. Just Ace making his way through the bar reinforcements, and that puts Jorno in a really bad spot. He's trying to find his way behind the bomb. He's getting a lot of damage taken up upon him, and Jorno technically is the last player that Phantom Legion really needs to take away from the map in order to find their way into the execute. But I stand corrected as Dan. He's sitting in the vault, and he's playing on that direct angle. He's attempting to shut down Hostile Actions, and he did so well that it leads to the defenders winning. Dan showing up by the end from the vault. And that's the one thing that goes wrong with that push, is you never account for the vault play. Truly.
You also can never count Dan out. He's just such a well-rounded player that his impact is always waiting to approach the map and get his frags. PLG have got some hope here, but you're just moving through round after round, looking at Trist and saying, is this the round where he starts to find his footing and gets his impact? It wasn't in that previous round on the AVG defense, so maybe Trophy and Statuary is where he'll find his reclamation. On Consulate, we saw a lot of the kills that made up his portfolio were those he got in sets of 2 or more. We didn't see a lot of rounds where he would just one quiet for massive duration. A lot of times he would get just a huge flurry of kills, especially in that final round for Consulate where he got the quad in order to secure the win. And you've got to hope that somewhere deep inside he can say, I'm trying to channel this energy, but you have to be able to be consistent, because Trist has proven to be such a great player in the past, and to say that we know Phantom Legion have kind of this issue sometimes they face where Trist can be a hit or miss player is just such a sad thing to say.
10 seconds remaining.
It is, because he's such a big player. He's such a big defining factor in the way that PLG plays. I mean, he gets their frags for them, and he's, with the frag heavy meta that PLG has, he basically is the trendsetter of their team. Him getting his frags in the round really determines, how well PLG is going to play. And I think that Triss, you're right, Triss not getting frags is just kind of out of place for him. It's kind of sad to be seeing, but, it might just be that Villa is not his map, and he's obviously going to have things that he needs to improve in the coming matches, which is hopefully something he'll be able to learn from. But getting into this round, we're going to be seeing a very early take of bottom floor kitchen, and I think that's honestly the right move when you're trying to make a push into trophy. It just depends on what Hostile Actions is going to do with the rest of the round at hand. They don't seem to be having any roaming presence that they're going to have to contest against, which is kind of interesting, because normally when you are playing specifically trophy, you have at least one person, or intel at the very least, holding off the other team, and I guess this is just really free real estate for Hostile Actions to be moving in, taking out the utility, clearing it, and, you know, fundamentally moving forward with the master bedroom push.
Well, now that Phantom Legion are at 2-5, I feel it's appropriate time for a quote. We've got Buzz from Phantom Legion. I asked him what he thought his team's biggest strength was. And Buzz says, our ability to come back from a deficit, I believe, or when we are on point, our trading is pretty good. So they've got the confidence that they can come back from a deficit situation, and shutting down Exum early is certainly indicative of that. But Trist is still the test that we're looking to find the result of, and I think, unfortunately, because he's seen himself die so early, he's going to play a little bit more passive, and so he's not given these opportunities to fulfill the role of entry by going aggressive. As I say that, though, here he comes, approaching the door. Limbo is ready for it at concrete, and Trist falls back to play it safer. A lot of damage dealt here as the player of Limbo on the Zoe tries to deal a bit of damage and pressure in tandem, and Disturbs gets a double, shutting down Dom. Now a 5v3. Phantom Legion looking hot, and Nitro Cell flies on through. A ton of damage, but it's all dealt to his teammate of Giorno. And now Hostile Actions are still trying to reclaim control of the bathroom and move further inside of NASA. Close! Guns down Devils, and now Giorno 5v2 for his team. Zag and Limbo. A lot of kills between them, but 5 in total would be quite difficult with 13 seconds to go. Disturbs trying to get more. All he needs to do is play it safe. He'll go down, and here comes the double push up from Astro. Zag will fall, and Giorno gets one as well. It's Dan, and final kill goes their way. Phantom Legion take round number. Perhaps the comeback may come true after all.
Yeah, I think that was a really great showing from Phantom Legion. You know, it started to spearhead, I guess, their ascent into possibly getting overtime. That's something I would like to see from them. And another thing that I would like to see from PLG, specifically Trist, is a kill. I'm sorry, man, but I'm gonna have to out you right now. I need to see kills from Trist. He is our big fragger of the night. Come on, I want to see the same performance that we had from Consulate be reflected on to Villa, honestly. And now he's going to be playing Goyo. And we're going to also be seeing a Pulse instead of an Alibi on that 6th pick. I think Pulse could really prove to be a very influential operator, especially on bottom floor, where top floor is very breakable. It's a very vertically adept type of objective where, you know, if you're able to get the intel from below going above, you can get that C4 off, and it will mean the world in your round. And honestly, PLG needs every advantage that they can get, and so I think bringing Pulse really will give them that edge.
10 seconds to insertion.
Another thing you would hope for here is to find an opening pick. Disturbs has done what I was asking. He started to heat up. He's at 10-7 now, emerging as the first player to find double digits across both Phantom Legion and Hostile Action. But the entry is huge. Hostile Action, with one simple mistake, could capitalize against Phantom Legion and force them into a match point situation where they would get overtime. Whoever wins this moves forward in the standings. So Phantom Legion, if they take 2, they would move ahead of Hostile Actions and into 11th place. But if Hostile Actions can tie up the series and take this one decisively and even us out at 1-1 through the series, that would make the standings still very even. Limbo, a bunch of damage dealt to him, but majority of the health is taken off of Disturbs, still holding this vertical gameplay. Hostile Action are trying to apply the pressure early here. 2 minutes and 5. If they can take the upper hand and eliminate the positions from Phantom Legion up top, that would be huge and would allow them so much more time to apply leverage vertically onto the A and B bomb sites. Zag gets Disturbs, and so the impact player will fall. Excuse me, but Limbo downed as well as Sophia. She can pick herself back up, but Giorno is going to swing for it. Quickly refragged by Exum, but he wasn't ready for the Dan. Trist, he gets his first kill onto Dom. Oh, 2v2 here, but Trist, that's the player to talk about, finally gets his impact. The Nitro Cell detonates, and now Hostile Actions, a minute and 30 to go. No man advantage gained from taking control upstairs, but they can still apply vertically down towards the bomb sites.
Question is, will Trist be able to keep up his form? He's going to need it if he wants to win out the rest of this round. We know that Hostile Actions has control of the top floor. That means that they get a big advantage when trying to attack the kitchen site. Question then becomes, how are they going to do it? Because there's a lot of different ways that they can take this. They can go through the kitchen, they can go through art gallery, they can even do a laundry-esque push. But it all just depends on your time, and right now the time is ticking for Hostile Actions. It seems like they're going to be doing a laundry-sided push, and I think that would be a great idea for them to do, especially with having the Ace handily on deck, and with the Nomad. They have Nomad. That's absolutely huge for utility and for that flank watch. Even though it is a 2v2, it still can prevent those rotations, cut off Triss and or Buzz.
Attackers
And
have located a bomb.
I think that they have a great operator pick selection in the last 30 seconds, but Doubles, he's going to be trying to making his move through art gallery. Triss is going to be our first line of defense, so this really puts him up at odds. He's going to test his skill out right here, and Doubles ends up getting the headshot on Triss. It's not a win for him, but Buzz, he's left to defend on his own. Less than 25 health left. Doubles now with 25 health as well. He's going to be planting the diffuser, and he ends up getting it off. And it is Devils to finalize a round. Oh my word, Hostile Actions is on a roll. Whoa.
That's just... Oh, if only the roles were switched and maybe that first gunfight didn't go Hostile's way. Maybe we wouldn't be standing at 6-4 with Hostile Actions securing match point. Perhaps it would have been one round closer and at a position where PLG could have tied things up. This makes it that much more difficult. Trist, he goes up to bat. He finally gets a kill for the impact, but he couldn't find the second, and it's just so saddening to see. He at least he gets a kill. He doesn't have a donut for the match, but the SRV so far for him has been quite pitiful. I mean, it's just, we played 9 rounds. Going into number 10, he's died in 8 of them. His team is in a similar situation, though. It's been a lot of rounds that have come down to simply eliminations, especially for Hostile Actions. It seems like Devils has been the one player who's managed to stay away from dying across the board here, at least for large part. Only 3 deaths of the 9 rounds total. But this is the big decider, and now Phantom Legion's task of sending this to OT for a possibility of getting 2 points looks bleak, and it's a lot of work. The road is long and arduous ahead of them.
And I think going back to that round commentating on it, Triss got a kill, but he didn't get the kill that he needed to get. He didn't get that impact kill that was so vital to Phantom Legion winning out that round. And on top of that, Hostile Actions are now in the match point scenario. You touched on that, and I think we're starting to near the point of no return where they have such a steep hill to climb, Phantom Legion, and there isn't really much they can do about it at this point. It only is 1 round for Hostile Actions that they have to secure to win the rest of the game. I mean, that puts down your confidence level, that puts down your morale. I mean, I guess you could technically argue that this game is already lost. They have 4 rounds that they need to secure, or well, actually 3 that they need to secure to put us into OT 5 if they want to actually win out win out the game. And I just think that it's definitely going to be very rough for them. But Giorno, he's already showing up, right? We got a kill off on Devils, the man of the hour. Speak of the devil, right? But no, man, all that is going to be going down. Again, that's huge for utility to be losing her at the beginning of the round. Not only talking about that, but it doesn't seem like Hostile Actions is doing great at spearheading right now, making their execute onto the objective. They're playing from below, but they're not playing where it matters, which is being able to cap out those stairs. Triss finally finds a second kill, though.
Yeah.
Finally, right? Onto Zag. Unfortunate for him.
Well, that's a two-man advantage, the type of which Phantom Legion sorely needs, especially shutting down Devils and Zag, as you mentioned. The utility lost in those two picks is tremendous, and as well taking down Devils, the player who I talked about is managing to keep himself away from early death and a death period in a lot of these rounds. And so maybe that's the opposite of a bad omen and a good one for Phantom Legion to have taken him out, now doubling up with kill onto Zag. They've got the advantage and not a lot of time for hostile actions to better approach the objective. They're going to have to really rush for it here if they want to get something moving. Exum sprints on through. He exposes himself to the study angle, but luckily no one PLG was staffing it. A gas canister detonates, explodes in the face of Exum. Giorno's got two more in pocket still to burn out the clock, and if he can use this, time it right, hostile actions will have a hell of a lot pressure to the game's door. Trist is still prone. Dom is looking to try and make some impact here, watching every angle, but Dan stationed still inside of the vault door. There's so little time, and Limbo will fall down swift on the refrag. Trist with the double kill, Disturbs with the third, and now only one left standing. Exum on so little health, running for his life. The time runs out, and it hits 000. Phantom Legion step further in the match.
Finally compounding those kills. Hopefully this will mark a beginning of a breath of motivation for him to kind of step up, a breath of momentum for him to finally find his way through the game. We know that the rest of these rounds are going to be huge for Phantom Legion to have to win, and with Trish showing up, that might just be enough to throw them over the edge and, you know, to make them find the win. And I like that Triss is showing up right when it's needed. Just right when it's needed in the game. I think he's trying to switch things up. He has been playing Legion quite a lot, but finally, you know, he's making the game sense moves that he needed to make. But commenting back on that previous round, I think, speaking of Triss specifically, when he made the impact frag to get us to a 5v3, that's when the round was over, right? It kind of played out like, you know, there was a lackluster response from hostile actions. They couldn't get any aggressive plays going in, and then they just got bested when PLG started to get aggressive on them in response, and it was all over from there. Hostile actions really couldn't do anything about it, and they lost very sorely.
Comes from Disturbs. He's on the bullet hole angle. Does he spot it? Oh! Gun down! Devils says no, and Disturbs caught out slacking on his aggression. Trist tagged up as well. Phantom Legion suffering hostile actions, whipping their hopes away, driving it home, and Disturbs dead is something out of a movie. I mean, the impact to see him gone, the aggressive play he tried for it, hoping to secure something for his team, and now Trist, he's got to step up to bat, and he needs to get on base if he wants to push this further. He's just got so little health to do it with. Still, Phantom Legion feigning this control of AVG. The mark comes out onto the mute. He's going to swing the hallway. So aggressive from Giorno. This prompts Exum to fall back further and wait for the support of his team before they try to take out the mute. He's holding fast, though, with the shotgun in hand. A nitro in pocket. He could launch this out into the hallway, but Exum knows it, playing it safe and waiting for the opportunity to come. They're going to try to probably hard breach this wall open if I had it pegged. And Buzz rotating inside of AVG to try and hold back what is remaining from hostile actions. So far, they've managed to slow this down enough. Almost catching out the mute as he rotates. Exum fails to get this shot and nearly waltz right into the crossfire. Oh my god, what a shot on the Exo! Another wraparound here, the mute down. Should be an easy confirm. It's a double kill for the Ash, a 2v5. Hostile actions pushing further and further closer to home. Now just Dan and Trist. The Legion, that underperformer, he's got so much to get done here. Hostile actions looking to take the 3 points home. and finally deal back the blow we saw dealt against them earlier. The cards have changed hands, and Limbo down to below 50. Swing from the Maestro could make it happen, and then the Ash, I think, has charged up deeper into Connector. Indeed, she has. Exum, Trist goes for the swing. He's got the confidence to make this gunfight happen, but Zag is down by Dan. Maybe this is the confirm and the kills necessary. 35 to go, and Dan is taken so low, but he gets a kill into Limbo. Exum is struggling to find this. Dan with another kill confirms it on the jump out. Goes for more and more pre-fires as Trist has fleed the objective back onto the Evil Eyes. Dan gonna try to find some intel. It's Exum for a triple kill. Trist dead with no frags. Dan has to get a clip. He gets Exum. That's the first of them. A triple kill. Can he make it happen? 12 seconds to go in the defuse.
Defenders have eyes on the diffuser.
Oh no, Dan, he's got so little health to make this happen. It'd be the clip of the year if he can get it done. One player inside, the spotted out in hostile actions. They will take Villa. It's a 7-4 win, no 12th round. And Phantom Legion are sent home wanting.
Yeah, I was just kind of sitting there in awe by the end of that. I was on the edge of my seat, to say the least. That was almost such a great comeback, and it almost perpetuated the round count for PLG, but unfortunately it was taken 7-4, and that was an absolutely amazing round in the hands of Hostile Actions. So now I guess we'll move on to the interview, right? I believe we
Yep,
will.
that's up next. Yeah, I mean, they just came so far to making it happen, and I think it was just that first split. Phantom Legion did not set themselves up for success, and Trist's failure to get kills was underscored. This team knew that, you know, if he didn't have the best day, the rest of the team, they were going to have to step up. Disturbs, he tried to do what happened on Consulate, but he just could not replicate that same level of insane performance, and it's unfair to ask him to completely ball out for 2 maps in a row. I get the endurance is a factor, and you just... How much can you expect from one player? I mean, Disturbs is good, but he's not Goria.
He's not. He's not Goria by any means, and I think that Disturbs really had a hard time carrying the entire, fragging power on his back, and that was one of the biggest faults of Phantom Legion during our game, because you can't single-handedly get every single frag that you need, because what happens when Disturbs dies? I mean, you can look back at the stream and you see that Disturbs was the first player to die, and that right there, it was a sign. It was a sign that Trist had to step up, and he was not able to. And there you go, that was our round there. But I think we shall be, if we're done talking here, I think we can finally move into the interview. Is that right?
Just waiting on whoever we'll be chatting with, so we've got a few more minutes to give our thoughts.
We do.
It's so unfortunate that Disturbs, he went for that spawn kill. I mean, you've got to kind of step in his shoes and say, a lot of these rounds for my team are coming down to the performance that I have, and so I want to start this off. I want to boost and really rally the hearts and minds of our team by getting this opening frag. If I shut down somebody on Hostile Actions early, that'll trend to stop them out. And PLG had a lot of success in rounds where they were able to find the opening pick and it went untraded, and the spawn kill is the perfect way to get that done. Just so unlucky for him that he was completely read out and chose to go for such a common angle.
You're right. You're definitely right in that assumption, and because of that, it was a really steep hill for PLG to climb. I mean, we already know that it was a steep hill for them to climb by the time that they hit their defense rounds. They had a bit of a better chance at winning it out by that time, but I think that, their defense rounds. I got caught up there. So yeah, I think that their attack rounds are really defining in how they played as a team, especially on Villa, which was their map pick. And for them to have such an underwhelming performance and then go on to have a better performance in their defense rounds, but it just doesn't end up being enough, was really saddening to see.
We've got An interview ready, though. It's Limbo from Hostile Actions, the memorial self, the player we saw get so much impact in that round. Congratulations on your win, too, in stealing out your opponent's pick.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Exum. He subbed in for Peeps today, who couldn't play for their match today, and I just want to say thank you for him.
Of course, it's good to have a sub in the back pocket that you can rely on to come in and perform at such a great level. And Exum, he really was a big impact player. A lot of times, especially back on Consulate, we would see something would happen, you know, PLG would finish their roam clear, and then he just kind of finds an escape route. He returns back to an area that Phantom Legion had previously marked as clear, and because of that, he was able to catch a lot of them off guard and get a bunch of impact frags, and that's so good. But I wanted to talk about what went into Consulate, because we did acknowledge the fact that Phantom Legion were not prepared to go to this map, and unfortunately, it was kind of a mistake in the map ban phase. They did not go to the map which they were intending to. But heading into Consulate, what made that, you know, your guys' pick? What about Consulate appeals to you?
First of all, we never played Consulate. Basically, we never played, and the guy who did the map ban did a little error. He banned Cafe instead of Consulate, and so yeah, we had to play on Consulate. But I think that if we would have played Cafe, we probably would have won the two maps. But I mean, it is what it is.
For sure. One other question: how does, you know, the prep go into this game when you obviously don't have Axon anymore? That's got to be kind of a big blow to bear the brunt of, losing your team captain and having to find somebody else, teach them your strategies, and I mean everything that goes into the style of Siege that you play. What kind of prep went into adjusting this for, you know, having a sub?
Normally our main player, I don't know if it's announced or you know about it, it's Peeps. He played for a lot of teams, he has a lot of experience. So yeah, this week we prepared with Peeps, but unfortunately he couldn't play for today, so we had to add an emergency sub, which was Exum. Honestly, on Consulate, the preparation, we had zero preparation. We just run default strats on defense, and that's why I think our defense were a lot weaker than our attacks. On attacks, I think, if I believe we had 4 wins on attack, but on defense, we didn't know what to do, so that's why we lost all our defense. But it is what it is. Next week we'll be playing with Peeps, and it's going to be a lot better.
Well, that's good to hear. I'll give you over to Jenna if she's got any questions to ask. I'm sure she's probably been thinking about a lot that happened today.
Yeah, I have been thinking. I was actually kind of struggling to find a question, and this question is really a very simple one. I just think, what was your mindset going into Villa, knowing that? And I know you talked about Consulate, it not being your map, you didn't really have experience with it, but I just want to know, what were you guys thinking? What thoughts were swirling around your head, knowing that you were going into Villa, it was not your map pick, and that you might potentially lose out this series?
Going into Villa, it was pretty much like if it was a new match, because on Consulate we knew we were gonna lose. Well, not we knew we were gonna lose, but we didn't have any prep and anything. But on Villa, we were calm. We knew we were better than them. I mean, honestly, in terms of gun skill, I think we're a lot better than them, and as a team in general. So we knew Villa, we could have definitely won it. So we were pretty confident, honestly, coming into Villa.
Okay, and I think I definitely would agree with you on that point, being that Villa is such a different map from Consulate, so I can understand, you know, having that new mindset going into it is so big. But I just came up with another question. I'm thinking, so what then do you think was the other teams? Was PLG, what was their biggest fault on Villa that you just exposed and took advantage of?
Their flank watch or their drone placements. I don't feel like they had any drones. We're flanking around. We were just peeking them anywhere, and they had no info on us, especially on defense. When we were on defense.
Okay. Well, I think if you don't have any more questions, Stick, I think we shall move on to, I believe, analysis, correct?
We've actually got another interview. Just quickly,
Oh,
Limbo, I
yeah.
wanted to give... if you've got anyone you'd like to shout out, any fans, supporters, staff, anyone that you'd like to thank for showing up today. I know you mentioned the sub, but go ahead, the floor is yours.
Can I speak in French?
Sure, go for it.
Merci à tout le monde qui nous supporte. C'est vraiment très apprécié. Bada, je sais que tu as fait beaucoup de travail en tant qu'analyste. Puis ça paraît que ça porte tes fruits. Puis merci beaucoup. That's it.
All right. Congratulations on your win for the second map. See you again here for the interview, but that's about it for the interview tonight. We've actually got Trist from Phantom Legion, the winner of the very first map and the reversal of fortune that we saw. Congrats on your win for the first map. It was definitely a close battle throughout it all, and after that first split, I didn't know what to think.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and give Jenna the opportunity. You can go ahead and...
Tris, I was talking about you, and I was really, I was making fun of it because you had done so well, in your first match, and then the second match was kind of like a flip-flop. I have to ask, you know, what happened? What was the main factor in you not being able to show up for the most part on the second map, Villa?
It's like my mic working? Hello? Hello? Okay, yeah. I don't know. I just let them keep me on a heater. I've never actually let that happen. I usually start off slow, then get back, and just you let your team down when you play like I did today. Like during that clutch, Dan was going off, and I vaulted trying to throw an impact. Like, I don't know. If this was the best of 3, I wouldn't let that happen on the third map. I just let my team down in that situation on that map. I wasn't IGLing proper either. Our pushes were scattered on Villa. Unfortunately, we went to Villa. We actually wanted Oregon, but I also missed the map ban too, because yeah. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, well, I think, yeah, we definitely had a very unexpected outcome tonight as a whole, you know, being that there were a lot of factors at play, there was a lot of unknowns that we were walking into. On top of that, we didn't necessarily get the map bans that were supposed to be seen. So yeah, I can definitely say that, you know, there was a lot at play that kind of made it be a big unknown. Now, I will hand you off to Stick if you have any more questions for me.
Sure. I wanted to ask particularly about map 1 coming into it was your opponent's pick, and this is sort of a question that we also asked to Hostile Action. What do you think was the largest factor that helped propel your team to victory in the map, considering it was obviously your opponent's pick?
Our victory on this map was their mistakes. We won because of their mistakes. We were able to get bomb plans that shouldn't have never been allowed to be done. Like, I mean, we were scattered. We were just overall scattered. We weren't playing like we usually play. If we were on top of our game, I'm sure there would have been a different outcome. But we're just looking for picks, for frags, for them to come to us. But that we just mostly want Consulate off their mistakes. Like, there's no chance we plant white van with them man up and everything, or like a 2v4. It's just, yeah. 2v4 with us planting shouldn't be able to be winning. But
speaking of a mistake, I wanted to talk about the first round because we saw failed reinforcement. Was that just kind of like a breakdown in communication?
Yeah, so we had our coach, right? And he's
Right.
kind of new, like Challenger. And shout out to him for coming. He saved us. He was literally nowhere near for this game, and he just came straight in. And we've done everything with our coach besides like Consulate so far. right? So we had the players mixed up, and then right after that round, after that mistake, we just said play ranked for for defense. Just play whatever ops needed and just fill in the gaps, reinforce whatever. And then after that, yeah, that's all it was. We had no idea that what to reinforce. Well, we did, but Challenger didn't. That's we had our strats. It was just unfortunate with Dan. Like his internet went out, and then yeah.
You know, it happens. Sometimes the internet goes out and there's nothing you can do about it. But it was good to see that despite Dan not being able to connect, you were still able to bring it back for tonight. Get a couple points from the win. What are your expectations for the rest of the season? Obviously, the playoffs race is a big question that you have to answer, and it'll be a long, arduous trek.
And just we hope to play our game next time we come play. The team that we dominate. We're used to being able to. It doesn't matter who we play, just like dominate our gunfights, and I wasn't able to do that today, so put us down. So hopefully for the rest of the team, we play like us and stay coordinated. We were just a little lost today, but that's okay. It happens.
Of course. Yeah, I definitely look forward to seeing your team be able to play at that full strength and coming into it and being, in your own as a team entirely. But I give you the same opportunity that I gave to Limbo from Hostile Actions. If you want to shout anyone out, or if you've got anything to say to all the fans, to everyone watching, go ahead.
Just shout out to Challenger for coming out. Came in huge. Honestly, I didn't know if he was gonna even come. Had no idea if he was even home. So saved us there. And then shout out to Phantom Legion's org. They're amazing. So if you ever want to go follow them, just follow them at Phantom Legion.
All right. Once again, congratulations on your victory this evening, and I look forward to, as I mentioned, seeing you guys be able to play in your own. But that's about it for the interview section. We've got the analysts up next. They're going to go ahead and help you break down what transpired for our second map of Villa. So, unfortunately, this will be goodbye for me and Jenna. I hope to see you again soon. But, Chief and Simtatious, without further ado.
Thank you so much, you lovely casters. It has been a rough map number 2 for both of these rosters, and I think the interview section highlighted the best. Far too many mistakes being made by both teams, but in the end, it was Hostile Action, the team that made the least amount of mistakes.
Honestly, I would have to agree with you there. It was just, okay, so listening to the interview, I just want to point out a few things, right? Phantom Legion, they're a very, very, in my opinion, a very brain thinking team. And I imagine mistakes, their analysts, they put a lot of prep into this match, right? So obviously they prepped with Dan, and it just didn't end up working out because Dan couldn't connect. But they ended up still winning the game. And now Dan comes back in Villa, and like Limbo said, they're able to work the flank watch and get the easy picks off of that. So I imagine that shakes up Phantom Legion, and it just kind of makes them not play how they usually play, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Hostile Actions are definitely a better gun heavy team. They're better aimers, and it definitely showed. I mean, that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all I got to say about the team specifically. I mean, there's specifics about just, but I'm gonna let you go ahead. I'm gonna let you go ahead and handle that.
I think round number 4 orchestrates it perfectly. Even Trick says it. I think he was getting frustrated with his calls. I think he was just making mistakes with IGL. I mean, he was sprint W shifting all the way into the bomb site, right? He obviously had the avenue to work for, and he was just, well, skipping steps in that 30-second window, right? If he played that a little bit slower, if he went for maybe alt walking into the bomb site, that could have actually been the play. Or if he coordinated with his, study side execute, setting up that potential crossfire, or maybe pre-firing into gun vault, that would have changed the course of the round, because that would have allowed him to set up his own crossfire in his own line of sight and actively deal with those positions, or work his way up to maps, either look downstairs or down all the way into U-bar, or again into gun vault, and try to go for a maps plant. Again, he had a lot of options, and it just seemed like he went for the most desperate option, which was just sprinting into the site. Now, playing aggressive and trying to change up a pace of a round when you're down 4-0 can actually work. But if you're playing aggressive the entire series, the defensive team's going to predict that.
I mean, exactly. It just comes down to be able to. You want to be unpredictable, but you also, if you're going to be aggressive, you got to be unpredictable, but play smart. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to play to your strengths. And Phantom Legion, like I said, they're a smart team, and they weren't. It didn't seem like they were playing to their strengths.
Yeah.
And you can see, like you said, Trish just said, "Let me give you the debut" when he just rushed in there and got clapped from Vault. But everyone makes mistakes, you know. You just gotta. It's the first game day on SCS, and you just gotta iron them out, you know.
Yeah.
And come back next time stronger than ever.
And you know, to like build upon the point of just being like a little bit discombobulated and frustrated, in map number 1, they weren't playing with their full man roster. As they were saying, they had to bring in their coach. And sure, you didn't lose your IGL, but that's going to change your macro strategy. It's going to change how you communicate. Your coach is going to know all of your strategies. He's going to know all of your comms, but he doesn't have that synergy. I don't care how good of a coach you are. You can, you know, be the best coach in the world, but you still don't synergize with that 5-man stack like the true 5-man stack would. And honestly, we're going about, you know, talking about being like unpredictable, and this is by far not the case, but just to build upon that point a lot more, United tried to make a strategy where they were always unpredictable, where they would just, you know, W shift into the bomb site, but after a certain amount of time, their unpredictability became predictable because you know that they would just ying rush you.
I mean, I was there. I was watching all those games, and
Yeah, right.
And you know, maybe that could have worked against a T3 team, but that's PL, and
Yeah.
PL is T1, and that's where the serious big boys play. But like in T3, you just gotta, like I said, play to your strengths, and you'll ultimately end up with your victories. You know,
I think it was Accelerate, the roster that became TSM, which what would that be? That would be who's on that? Oh, would be Achieved and Bio, who were the members of that roster, and Bio was IGLing. And they would do exactly that. They would play kind of very structured passive games, and then all of a sudden it would be complete and utter bonanza where everybody in the lobby was dead in the first 2 seconds of the round. So if you were able to bring something like that in here, that unpredictability, that could have been brilliant.
But you know, another thing is with these sort of things, the minor things when it goes on to the round, like I don't know, maybe your smoke dies off early, and he has 2 canisters on him when it could have been used for different things. And it's just minor mistakes like that that ultimately determine the end of the round, or the end of the outcome of the match.
And also, it just seems like people were just missing shots, skipping steps, and I guess it just comes down to levels of frustration. You know, Phantom Legion had their debut. I know they participated and were very good in quals, but one, you know, small mistake cost them in the long run. And that, I guess, motif is going to pan out here once again, where they're just making mistakes, skipping steps. Flank drones are imperative. Every time I cast Villa, I swear I say the word flank drone 6,000 times. It's not because flank drones is my favorite word in the universe or combinations of words. It's because you can't play Villa without flank drones, as well as crossfires, right? Like, this map is attacker-sided in Pro League because of crossfires and shutting down the defenders. It's such an easy map to do so when you're communicating and coordinating, because 360-degree crossfires are going to punish the defenders every single time you set one up. Or at least 52% of the time, if you use NAL statistics.
But that's just gonna do it for us today. It was a pleasure, honestly, to do it with you, Chief. It's, I think, our first time, right?
It is, big boy. So I'm happy to be on the analyst desk with you. It seems like I have to be changing my Twitter to be, instead of Chief Cast, to Chief Analysts, I guess, or that doesn't quite sound as good. But nonetheless, that's going to wrap it up for us in week number 6. For all of you that participated in this week, I know it was a short week since we had a holiday and there was plenty of reschedules. So come back on Monday for our first pseudo Playday. But until then, stay safe, stay well. We'll be back with you next week.
Bye-bye.